Hello. Hello, everyone. It's Thursday. Let's see if I got everything right this time again. Every time feels like a lottery every Thursday. I'm like, it's like 19 buttons to press, all of them red. Go live. Are you sure you want to go live? Do you want to start the stream? Yeah. All right, let's check it out. Let's check out the chat. Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's Thursday again, and it's Imphenzia streaming live Thursday on the 17th of March. Andreas Brillen, hello, Obel, welcome, and welcome everyone in the chat here. I see the usual suspects. Oh, whoa, my microphone's falling down. All right, what's the plan for tonight? Do you know what? Last week I did some playing a game, and that's not really what I do mostly on this channel, is it? So I'm gonna do some Blender stuff today. I'm gonna do a bit of a free modeling, and I was thinking about theming it a bit. Oh, GameDev assetsy stuff, and I've even started a Unity project. Maybe I'll import a few things in there. And I thought I can do like a Q&A session and maybe go through stuff in Blender. Don't know. Let's go with the flow. Let's have a GameDev Thursday. Hope everyone's inspired. So hand on heart now, how many people have been like pushing forward this week on your projects, making sure that you do your 3D modeling? Did you learn something new? Have you done anything in Unity, Unreal Engine? Goddah! I'm still not going to be able to say that. Oh. Shout out, it's Chess Man. Welcome. I actually got a 3D printed chessboard over there that from one of the episodes that is the 10-minute modeling challenge. The video doesn't start. Hey, Julia Alder, can anyone see me? Hope so. Alessandro, yeah, welcome. Oh no, Corona. Sorry about that. We see you. Julia Alder, you have to switch on your monitor. Or just hit F5 to refresh. So just started Unity last week following your basic guide, Marcyless. Thanks. Good. Hope maybe I should do an update. Mia PC. Hello. Have you been in the stream? Did you come last week or were you busy? I hope you had a good excuse. Java. You learning Java? Out of here. Good name. C# for the win. Hello from Switzerland. Hello from Sweden. Sorry, I'm just gonna like make sure everyone can tune in here. Concurrent viewers 52, climbing. Nice to see you all. Where should I release my first Blender render? I don't know. What do you want to do with it? Do you want to share? You can share in the Imphenzia Discord. Check out the link in the description. Share your work there. That could be an old. Jeffrey Reynolds, morning from California. Good evening from Sweden. And we've got Pagoni. What's up, Imphenzia crew? Yeah. Welcome. Hello from Mexico. World is checking in. GameDev World. I wonder how. Let's hear in the chat how many people are doing like Blender versus GameDev in general. Let's just see what wins. I'm going to see what the flow is like in the chat to see what type of a crowd we've actually got here. Bread Buster, welcome. Oh, Paris is checking in. We've got a GameDev here. Both good. GameDev seems like a both thing seems to be my big thing. Blender, GameDev, both. Blender, GameDev, both. Well, GameDev, both. God, this is an even race, isn't it? Both. A lot of both here. Maybe I've attracted that crowd. Because, let's see. I made $60 with Blender with your help, Imphenzia. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm happy to hear that. Bread Buster. I keep saying bread and butter, but Bread Buster. Happy to hear that. It's always fun when you can make a bit of money on stuff, doing stuff that you love. Providing that you love doing Blender stuff, of course. All right, so it's a very... I'm actually glad to see that. It's a very 50-50 mixed crowd. And I started with GameDev. Well, initially I started with music. Imphenzia was a whole music project to begin with. That was like the name Imphenzia even derived from me making music. And I'm actually playing Imphenzia music today. This is one of my chill out tracks, Nostalgia, Retreat Edit. Maybe, but a little bit faint in the background maybe. But so that was how I started with Imphenzia. And then I made games. The reason why I really got into games was that I was going to promote my music by making games. And I started to create a little breakout clone called Beatball, and I put my own music into it. And that got released on a German magazine called Der Spiel or something. Spiel. And it got included on a CD-ROM. And hands up if anyone doesn't even know what a CD-ROM is, like the younger crowd here now, 13 and up or down. I don't know, 17 and down, don't have a clue what a CD is, I guess. But my game was included on a German magazine CD and got distributed to like tens of thousands of people. and I spread a little bit of the Imphenzia love that way. My logo was already existing back then in 1997, I think 1999 or something. So that's how I got a little bit into game dev, and it's always been a bit of a hobby. And then at some point I started to do a little bit of 3D modeling, and ever since it's been like audio, game development, and a Blender. It's been a nice mix there ever since. So I'm glad to see that we're attracting people from all that stuff. All right, let's check it out. You seemed relaxed today. Yeah, I'm relaxed. I'm having a good time. I think after that Steam Fest weekend, that was a really hectic one with the game, and we're fine-tuning the game. We're having a lot of people playing Line War at the moment. We decided to keep the demo up and live, so we've still got people playing that one. If you check out the link in the description if you want to play Line War, it's free for the time being until we head towards our self-published release. That's our goal now. And we've had over 20,000 matches being played now, and we've got a new leaderboard up and running. So it's a lot of fun. We're seeing a lot of competitive gameplay, and overwhelmingly positive the feedback. I've ran a feedback forum so people can submit feedback, and some of the stuff that we were hoping wouldn't be an issue. You know, we've introduced a whole new concept when it comes to how you control units in an RTS game, so it's a bit of a scary thing to do. But overwhelmingly so far positive. At least the people that that take the time to go and submit the feedback form, so should be cool. And yeah, so after that, just fine-tuning that, doing a bit of work on the side, and thinking about what else to do. Not that I don't have enough to do, but I also make my own music for games, wooden pickle games. That's good. Yeah, I love making music. Is a lot of fun. So I hadn't done a lot of music for quite some time, and then got to boot it up to do some of the Line War music, and you get a little bit rusty, I noticed. So always takes a bit of time to get back into it. Mirko is here as well. I always remember you, Mirko, because when I put together the monthly challenge City, your block was one out of like 144 that I missed, and I always felt guilty about that. But I tried to redeem it by including it in a special post-released video. I think it was you anyway. All right. Bring back 10-minute modeling challenge. You know, I've been thinking about that. I do weirdly miss it. We did 100 episodes of that, and I do miss it. So we'll see. I've also been considering, ever since I stopped the 10-minute modeling challenge, I've always been thinking, like, what should I do with the channel? And I'm realizing I don't want to just like slap together videos for the sake of putting a video together. So I'm figuring it's better that I do live streams every Thursday just to attract the core crew, you guys and girl that are hanging out here. So I'll do some of the live streams there, and I really want to try to put together better quality videos for the ones that are released on my YouTube channel. So once, like, we're heading towards the release now of the game, so that's going to be nice. Maybe I always say this, but maybe things will calm down a little bit then. And I'm also trying to some of the freelance work that I'm doing, I have to keep that at a more healthy level. So then I'm looking forward to doing a little bit more like structured YouTube videos, because two of the YouTube videos that are really doing the best on my channel by far is the Unity tutorial and the low poly modeling tutorial. Those two have got like nearly 2 million views now. So I think my best effort would be to spend the extra time and put together more thought through videos. I think so. That's an idea. Do you know a good place for 3DS tutorials? No, unfortunately I don't. This is, you know, ever since Blender got into my life with it being free, that's what I've been doing. So unfortunately I don't know that one. And Tanner, let's see, maybe it was asked before, what's the meaning of Imphenzia? So when I started to make my music in 1997, I needed a name to track my progress on the internet. So I wanted it to be unique. I didn't want it to call it like Sector 7 or something, because then if I Googled Sector, it'd be like 3 billion trillion hits, and I wouldn't even know which one's mine. So I decided to just type something in on the keyboard and then see what it ended up with. And it turned out to be Imphenzia. A lot of people call it Imphenzia or something, but that's not what it is. Imphenzia, just a made-up name, and it doesn't mean anything. But apparently, I've been told that in Italy, it sounds very much close to, Infanzia, I think, Infanzia, which means like childhood or something. And since I'm like a bit of a nostalgic retro 90s computer nostalgia guy, I sort of like that reference too. All right, so I'm gonna start modeling a little bit or something soon. Let's go with the flow. We'll just see if we've got anything else in the chat here, and let's check it out. I'm doing a little bit more Q&A just for another minute or two, and then we'll see where we're going. So if you want to direct a question at me specifically, put at Imphenzia so it lights up in orange here on my screen. It'll be easy for me to spot it. So I'm looking for a laptop for Unity. IJ Vines is saying Asus TUF F15 enough for Unity. Oh, I don't even know, but oh yeah, for sure. 8 gigs of RAM, Intel processor, GTX 1650. That's yeah, go for it. That should be a good entry level machine, I think. We've got a GTX 1650 for our game development machine for Lion War. That's what we got to make sure that it could run on that spec, so should work. Model a city in Imphenzia. Ooh, okay. Well, I'm doing a lot of buildings lately, let's put it that way. I've been modeling like 4,000 buildings so far. So it's crazy. So keep going with the at Imphenzia if you want to send some questions. I'll try to spot it. And we'll get started here. So let's switch over. I'm not going to do the mistake. I've learned enough now. So let's switch over to the mainstream. And let's get cracking. Model something alien. Okay, so what would be a good entry-level game to start making for my first dev challenge in Imphenzia? So I'm Colleen is asking that, and well, there's a few things. Let's see, my first games or go-tos are always either like a breakout clone where you got like the bat and bricks and a ball that bounces, and then you're supposed to like just use the mouse to control and steer the bat, and then as the ball comes down, make it bounce, and then hit bricks and then remove the bricks. I think that's always a good starting entry project. Another one, depending on what type of game set you want to make, of course. Another go-to mine is a simple top-down shoot-'em-up game. So you control something up, down, left, right, and just move it, shoot something, and fire something, like a Space Invader type of thing, or a scroller. Another one, it could be a platformer. If you want to get a little bit more into animating a character and having like a jump and a walk and a run cycle and transitioning, collect coins or something, a platformer is a good start as well. Some people start with a first-person shooter. Funny enough, I've never ever made a first-person shooter project. And it's because I get motion sick when I do first-person stuff. Some games I can do, but a lot of the simpler ones I get motion sick. Yeah, it's time for sculpting. No, not sculpting. Ostkaka said I should sculpting. If you look in my history, we've tried that a few times. Check out that Kraken that I did. It looked terrible, and I also did an alien. Ended up horrible. I don't know how to sculpt. That's terrible. So we got. Sorry, I'm just gonna do, since some of the questions are dropping in here. Let's go full screen again. Full screen. So I'm a beginner. Is learning Unity difficult? Well, it depends on how you see it. I'd say no if you have the patience and the passion. Those are the two key ingredients. If you're like thinking, oh, I'll learn a bit of Unity, but it doesn't really interest me, then I don't think it's going to go that well. But if you are interested and you want to make games or you want to learn how to do stuff and you've got a little bit of patience, I think it's a good start. And some of the stuff that you can do without coding, but it's very limited in that case. So I'll usually I drag a few items into the scene, like some cylinders or, well, capsules is a go-to one, and then some cubes, and then try to play around a bit with colliders and see, can I make things move? Can I make things break? Can I make some things maybe like move with keyboard input and stuff like that? And then take it gradually, and don't go for like a complicated project straight away. That's one of the main pitfalls. You don't want to do that. I get a lot of contact requests, and unfortunately I miss most of them because my inbox is like, I don't know, it's quite overwhelmingly full, so I'm scared to even look at there. But a lot of the questions that I get is like, I'm going to make a game and it's going to be like Fortnite but with better graphics and maybe 200 peoples in the battle royale. And I like the ambition. It's always nice to aim high, but that's too high. That's way too high. You should start with something very, very, very simple. Very, very, very simple. And just make a Pong clone or something. That's the easiest one I can think of. And then just make it a little bit more complicated, and finish those projects as good as you can, at least. So you got a playable prototype, see if it's fun. If it isn't, move on to something else and then learn that way. That's my suggestion there. So Tanner, maybe 10-minute coding challenge would come in the future. But you know what? I've been thinking about that, and I've decided not to do it. Do you know why? There's a very good reason for it. Because, I don't know, there's like two parts of the brain or something. One's on this side and the other one's on that side, and both are confusing in my one. But when it comes to modeling, it's like activating some part of the brain. I have no clue which one. But then when you model, it sort of goes with the flow and you just like randomly create stuff. if I have to activate the programming mind, I've noticed that that's very difficult to get started on my. And a lot of my programming isn't. I've realized when I do a lot of development, I Google all the time. I'm like, okay, I need to do. Even when I do stuff like the procedural map generation and things like that, I don't know how to program that off my heart. I mean, I know what type of. I know the C# and all the basics, but as soon as I need to like create a procedural mesh, for example, I always have to remind myself, okay, I have to new the mesh object, I have to add vertices, vector 3s, and then I always in and out of the Unity reference guide. So I think, doing a challenge for that, I don't think it would be that good, to be honest, unless I like rehearsed it super good, but then it wouldn't really be a good challenge then, I guess. Then it'd be like memorizing something. All right, let's go. Sorry, guys. I hope. I just want to make sure that I answer questions here as well, because that's really important instead of just random modeling. So let's see. Oskaka. So and I'll probably just read the ones that's got @Imphenzia on it. So do put that if you want me to answer something. So Oskaka says practice makes perfect. Yeah, and those videos are a year old. Yeah. I've realized maybe I should do a character now and a simple rig, because I'm starting to slip out of my mind how to do that. Ooh, Tony Fredriksen, still make music on Amiga Pro Tracker. That's music to my ears. Tony, welcome into the club here. So I started making music on Tracker, but I did have an Amiga, but I didn't actually use Pro Tracker because I got into the music when I was on a PC, but I used Fast Tracker too, and I absolutely love the Tracker stuff. It's I still listen to chip music that's made with XM modules from the Fast Tracker era, and it's just so beautiful, and they're super compact. One file is like 50 kilobytes or something, and it sounds absolutely fantastic. Do you know what? I'm actually going to put on some of my own chip music here. I'll come back to this one in a second. So let's put this on. Here's one of the spaced up chip music ones that I did. So it's a bit like a modern chip music. Oh, did I have the volume really loud or something? Is the volume super loud? I don't know. Let's see, what else do we have? How do you structure your goals and keep them from getting out of hand to finish on time? I don't know if I turned off the music too loud now. So it depends. If we're talking Line War, that's a very disciplined project. We spend a lot of time planning Line War ever since a lot of people don't write game design documents anymore. I don't think they prototype it and take it from there. But my colleague Christian, he wrote a game design document for Line War, and he's been very true to it because he developed the idea for 20 years, creating a board game. And from that, we've kept it really, really structured. So we use Azure DevOps, which is basically like a Kanban board where you have a lot of tasks. We use something called stories. And you type in from a user perspective in the sprint what we're going to deliver, and we're going to have, for example, we had adding aircraft, or it could be adding a specific type of units, or upgrading the map, or it could be technologies or energy consumption or something. And we plan those tasks out pretty good in terms of the story, and then we assign tasks to it, and then we try to estimate a little bit of time to it, and then we execute on those, and then make sure that we keep everything updated. We do code repository, so we write everything, check it into a Git repository, and we do the testing, write unit testing, and make sure everything is running, and then we close that and deliver that sprint until we move to the next one. So that's what we do in Line War. When it comes to the Imphenzia, that's a totally different beast altogether. That's I'd say it's the total opposite, because when it comes to Imphenzia, I do so many different things. I do 3D modeling, game development, I do asset development, freelance modeling stuff, I do YouTube and stuff. So I can't really structure it in that way. And I noticed for me, and I think it's a lot of the same for a lot of other peoples as well, people. And that's like, it comes in, creativity for me comes in waves, I usually call it. And in the beginning, I used to fight that a lot. So when I was really inspired, like let's say I've decided to make music, and then I wasn't that inspired to do it, and I tried to do it anyway, then I didn't actually deliver anything good, and it was just wasting my time really. So I've learned to really go with the flow a lot more, which is why it's so inconsistent what I do. So if I'm into music, I'll spend like 2-3 weeks doing that, because I'm inspired to do it, and I can create a lot of content that way. And then that sort of fades out, and maybe something else comes in, like 3D modeling or Unity development, or you name it. And when that comes, I'll just switch over to that, and I'll focus on that. And you can't really do that if it's a profession that you do, because then certain tasks you always have to do. So that could be a problem. But if you're in let's say you're creating content to sell on a third-party site or in the asset store, then it's a really good thing, because then you can focus on what you love to do at that particular time and then move ahead. And sometimes you get into problems, and that's a whole different domain. And sometimes you just have to stick it out and push it through, even if it's tough. All right, let's have a look. I'm going to switch back to the chill out music instead, I think. Okay, let's see. So I think halfway through developing my first publishable game. So we got beta saying something. Halfway through developing my first publishable game. Any advice on good places to spread awareness advertising to maximize starting player base? Is it a multiplayer or is it just a single player game? So this is something I've learned a lot during Line War. I wasn't too aware of it before. My knowledge about promotion was that people don't spend enough time doing it, and it's a very tricky thing to do. When you're about to release a game, it's very, very difficult to spread the word. There's so many games coming out on Steam. I think in the release queue for Steam now, there's many thousands of games just waiting to get released. And spreading the word is one of the most difficult things to do. And one thing that you should probably do is try to be transparent maybe with your development. So release devlogs and stuff, and tweet about it, send screenshots on Screenshot Saturday, the hashtag there. Try to be active a little bit on Reddit and post some in the Unity 3D. I think Alex Rack 2 was suggesting that as well. Like if you post a little progress there, you'll get a bit of attention and spread a little bit of the word. But still, even with that, I think that the problem with that is that it attracts mostly game devs, and those are not going to necessarily be the people that buy your game in the end. So for Line War now, we're working with a PR company. We've actually decided to go and invest a little bit in public, having that, because then that spreads the word. They can coordinate a little bit and inform influencers and stuff what's going on. But it's the costly option. It costs money, and it's not necessarily guaranteeing the result that you need anyway. So it's very, very difficult, very difficult. Maybe I can get back to it a little bit more and write a little guide when I've learned what seemed to have worked for us or what didn't work. Yeah, Brick Breaker, go for it. So Tushar, I know I've been spending, I think I might as well just, I wanted to have a little chat with you guys anyway to see what your questions, maybe I could help out along the way here. A little casual Thursday, let's call it that way. So you have creative soul, you create models, games, music, yeah, too much. I do too many things, but it's your vibe is really affecting. Why do I read 3 words? Jump back to the one before. I think I'm semi-dyslexic here, so I'm going to read it properly now. You have a creative soul. You create models, games, music. Your vibe is really affects younger people. I believe that in one point people will learn how to learn with your tutorials. Whoa, that was a lot of learn there. But yeah, I've always been like that in work as well. When I worked with IT security, and I think a lot of people spoke very fast about different things, concepts, and it was I noticed that a lot of people were missing the point. They come out of a meeting and they discuss something, and they realized that they both thought that they came up with a good way forward. And when I listened in, I was like, they didn't really understand each other. So I've always wanted to be really extra particular when I teach something. So if I'm on a whiteboard or something, I really try to drill it in. And I think that carries over a little bit in some of the tutorials that I make. When I made the Unity tutorial, I didn't really want to leave any stones unturned on that one as well. So, here's another one. So, we've got a question here. Do you any videos show your sound creation methods? Not enough, actually. I don't, since I haven't done it in a long time. But I've got so much recording like equipment and sound design techniques that I really want to share at some point. So that should be fun. All right. So don't forget to @Imphenzia if you're asking me something, because otherwise I'll probably miss it. But just because of that, I didn't see. So how did you learn how to script in Unity? I came from a background where before Unity, actually, I did not use C#. I used Blitz Max or something. It was like a free game, not a free, it was a paid game engine. I think it cost $100 or something. But it was a custom language. I need to breathe. So I switched to C# and I just did a lot of trial and error. I think I started with the other language, that Unity scripting or something with that. Can't remember what it was called. But then I just realized that a lot of the pros were using C#, so I started to switch to that. And then just Google, start with very simple examples. The examples in Unity, I think, are really, really good. So So I'm calling it as if a person or company approached you for creating low poly models for a game, almost like your 10-minute challenge project, how would you charge? Like an hourly rate or asset collection? Okay, that's a very good question as well, because I do actually get that question as DMs sometimes in my Discord and stuff. So let's see how I should. I would not charge, because if you make something in 10 minutes, it's without the specification. Usually I do a 10-minute challenge, and it's like I create something random. Okay, that's going to be good enough. And that's not going to be how it works when you create assets for someone else or for a game, because then it's going to be maybe some design requirements. You have to gather their feedback. A lot of time is going to just go in non-modeling parts. You'll sort of get their art direction. What do they need? How should it be? You might go back and forth a little bit with feedback. So if you were to charge like a low price for that, then I wouldn't do it. I'd probably estimate how many characters, if it's a character creation or something, I'd probably estimate how long would it take me to make one character. And then I would also add and put a price on the actual character and the output maybe instead of the hour, because it'd be too tricky. So that's probably how I would have gone about, maybe add more asset. So get a spreadsheet going and list all the assets that need to be created, and then estimate a price based on that. And then try not to be over ambitious, because I've realized as well, when you do something for like a client or something, you think, oh, that'll only take an hour, but in fact it'll take double that and then double again, because it probably takes you 4 hours to get everything in order to just do that particular thing and make sure that everything's right. Or sometimes, of course, you have to work by the hour. If you're hired to do something and it's not specified yet exactly what you need to create, you could be on work for hire, but be very transparent in that case, how long it takes you to do the different things. And again, try to be realistic as possible. So, Cheese on Vase, I am trying to make a multiplayer game and want an effect where certain 3D objects are visible to only one select player. Can't find any tutorials on how to do it. So it's a multiplayer game. Well, just hide the object then for the other player. So just either disable the mesh render on that object, or you disable the whole game object. The best thing is to disable the whole game object, and if you don't need it to interact with anything in the world or something, I would disable that. But if you still need it to be active, then I would definitely either disable no, here's a better option. Create a separate Unity layer. Let's see, I think I've got one up and running here. Thursday Live here. So if you have an object like this, okay, now I nearly did it. I forgot to switch this one. But if I add an object here, create 3D object, cube. There we go, there's a cube. Then for the other player, if you have the main camera here, then you can see it's got a culling mask now. It's a new version of Unity that I don't really recognize so well. So let's see, where is it? Here we go. Culling mask, everything is shown by default. So here's what I do for one player. I'd create a layer up here, layers, edit layers. And here, just call it like any layer that you'd want, hidden or something. And here, just assign it temporarily through the script. Then you would assign that, change the layer of this whole object hierarchy to hidden, and it still shows here because this one is here. And then so on the camera that renders it, then you change the culling mask here to not show hidden, and now when you press play, you shouldn't see the object here, so it's hidden. Everything on that object is hidden. Whereas if I change it back to default there, then it's shown. So you can just hide on a layer. We actually do some of that stuff sometimes when you temporarily need to hide something. It's a very good method if you still need a game object to be active. All right, let's check out. So let's do some more. When should I animate in Blender versus animating in Unity? Captain Oblivious. I nearly said Captain Obvious. Okay, if you named Obvious, you should probably know that. But it was Oblivious, so that's a pretty good name. So, okay, when you should animate in Blender versus animating Unity. I can give a little bit of an insight to how I have done it. So all the character animations that I do, I usually do in Blender, because I find it a lot easier to animate character movement, the way you like walk cycles, maybe idle animations, all that stuff. And some of the stuff that I've animated in Unity instead is more primitive stuff. So when in Line War, for example, we have construction of different like factories and things like that, the structures, the buildings. So I've imported that as separate objects, and that particular thing I wanted to animate using the animator in Blender in Unity instead. So then I record keyframes and I create an animation clip in Unity, because then I can move it and tweak it a little bit more and maybe do a lot of scripting to say what should happen. So that I tend to do in there. And I also know that in the, let's see now, in the rigging package that I haven't used lately, there's some quite good stuff that you can do there to animate inside of Unity, but I haven't really used it that much, but I'd probably go that route if I wanted to do some stuff that interacted with the inverse kinematics and stuff. So I hope that gave a little bit of an insight, but let's see. Off the rails, have you had a look at meta sounds in UE5, Unreal Engine 5? I've seen a few people making music and great sound effects with it. No, I haven't checked it out, actually. I'm excited. It sounds like that's is that a procedural sound generator or something? Sounds interesting in that case. I haven't looked at it yet, but... So I'm calling... So you would sell it more like a complete package, I get you. Have you ever done a job like that for a client? Yeah, I've done some stuff, both when it comes to sound effects and modeling. I've done stuff based on an asset sheet, so I've estimated a price, and then I've included as well a fair amount of... or a reasonable amount of tweaking. So you can't go on and tweak stuff forever for the fixed price, because then it just drag out forever. So be cautious about that. Say that it could include some alterations based on their feedback. So, but I've done both, and I've also done work for hire when I spend like an hourly rate and I report how much I've created, and then they need to make sure that they have a budget set and that you do get the payment. So I've done both. So I find it quite difficult to work for hire stuff. I feel, again, relating to what I said before, when it comes to let's see, hope I showed that. So when I do work for hire, you have a whole different type of pressure, because you have to do something that the other project wants or something, and it has to match their criteria. And my creativity is better spent usually creating something that I feel like doing at that time. So it's better for me. I think work and putting stuff into the asset store is a better fit for me, because then I can do whatever I feel like. So let's have a look. Start modeling like a 20-minute modeling challenge, like a diorama example for a dark forest diorama. Oh yeah, like a diorama. That was a long time since I did. Should do a little one of those. Know of any Blender-like software for making music? Do you know what? I think not Blender-like. I know there are some free programs, but I can't remember them. But I did write them down because I was planning to make a video on top 10 software to use that are free to make game development with. So I should probably refresh that one and check it out. So I can't give you off the top of my head now. Maybe I could... Should I look here, maybe? Let's have a look. I'll do a brief check just to see if I had it here somewhere. Probably didn't like. Nope. Okay, sorry, didn't. Thought I had it easily accessible. Let's see, I've got a couple more questions I might as well go through here. Do VCV reactor generative patch for stream? Ooh, I don't know. Missing that one, sorry. So we got Southern Arc Gaming. As a game dev, would you say it's... I have to stop the scrolling here. Would you say it would be smarter when building an MMO style game to start with your networking and firm it up before building out the game and vice versa? Okay, that's a very interesting question. In fact, if you're making a multiplayer game, I would advise to do the multiplayer part as soon as possible, at least in a primitive style. We did that for Lion War because we needed to test it straight away. With it being a multiplayer only game at the point, then we had to test it very early on. And some very key things of how you design the game and everything, how you build your objects, how you synchronize them across the network is going to be key through your whole project. So I would definitely focus and implement that as early as possible. I've also done the opposite, where I've tried to make a game, even back in the day where I used that Blitzmax to create the top-down Performa cars game. I decided then to don't care about the networking at all. I thought I'll just make the game run first with some simple AI, and then I was going to add multiplayer onto it afterwards, and that was a big problem. I couldn't do it, in fact, because a lot of the design decisions that I'd done on the way, some examples was that I was frame rate dependent for everything to run properly in the game. That was back in the day. Wouldn't have that issue today, maybe. But a lot of the stuff it turned out to be too much of a problem. Also, I didn't separate the abstract away, so like a car was a player, which was an AI, and then when you abstract everything, you should really have maybe the player is an object, the car is an object, and the driver is an object, and then you can link those together. So those, I think you do yourself a favor if you deal with that straight on as soon as possible. It's worth the time, I think. So, yeah, love. So Uskake, I should prioritize that video. Let's imprint that in my brain. So could you chat a little bit about your career progression, like how you got your first paid job, considered yourself a professional game dev? Okay, yeah, I'll do that. So I've worked for the past 20 years mainly as a IT security guy. I do, like, companies needed help with IT, and then it turned out to be IT security, so I did a lot of that. And I did game development on the side. Like I said, I did it to promote my music, really. And then I did I was going to create my own game. I released a few smaller ones, and then I decided to do assets instead, because I realized that back in 2013 or something, I started to make a bit of assets. I put my music there, and it sold a little bit, but not that I could make a living off it by any means. But then I switched from releasing music in the asset store. I created something called Space for Unity, which is a procedurally generated, not a procedural, but it was a randomizing way to create space boxes, so space environments. And when I started to sell that, I realized that there was a market to sell items in the game development asset store. So instead of making games, really, I started to make game assets for other game developers. It's a bit, I compare it a little bit to selling shovels during the gold rush. There was some people made a fortune on the gold rush by finding gold. And you struck it big if you hit it, of course, but a lot of people didn't make any money because they didn't find any gold. So the people that sold the shovels instead made a decent living by selling the shovels. They wouldn't strike it big, of course. And I compared the asset very much like that, because a lot of people were inspired and wanted to make games. And back in 2013, it was a little bit easier to sell game development assets. It's much more saturated, the market now. I think I managed to find the Unity asset store just when it was peaking a little bit and started to gain popularity. So it was easy to get featured on the main page and get onto the top charts when you started to sell things. So that's actually how I could finance stepping down from my day job. I went down to 50% there. And then I spent most of my time creating game development assets. And then I transitioned a little bit more to do Ludum Dare type of games, where I just messed around and learned. And then I did YouTube, a lot of some of the videos that I've done for modeling and things. So I haven't really done it professionally like that until the Lion War came along. So this guy contacted me in 2019 early to create Lion War. And I wanted to create a game from start to finish that was a significant piece of work. But it also meant that I had to self-fund my part of it. So he had left his job to focus on this. He saved up money, so I saved up as much as I could, and I stepped down my day job, and then I tried to fund it with selling my Unity assets the best I could, and I've got the Patreon and the YouTube income, so just to keep me a little bit afloat. And then I've had to do freelance jobs in between, just so I could finance creating Lion War, which is a huge risk, really, to make a game like that, because the RTS market is quite difficult to succeed in, and it's a very big gamble, and we might find out that it didn't turn out to be profitable in the end. We hope that it will be, but we still don't know that. So that's like a recap of my journey, and I've not made much money at all making games, because my Ludum Dare games are free, of course, and my Beatball games, I don't really promote them anywhere. They're not on Steam. So Lion War is going to be my first real attempt together with Christian to make a game that's hopefully commercially viable, so we can build on there. I'm looking forward to making other games in the future. And also, when it comes to finding work, I'd say it's probably, for me, it was easier to sell assets in the asset store and on other, like in the Unreal Engine marketplace. That was easier than finding freelance work. But I didn't really hunt for the freelance work either. And since it didn't really fit me that well, like creating stuff on a specific period of time of the specific type of content, I much rather do random stuff and sell it. That felt, and try to get that as more of a passive income. So, but I think the biggest surface for me in terms of getting more requests was launching my YouTube channel and starting to get a little bit more. So I get questions or requests to create art for game projects now, and different crypto projects and stuff. They come in quite frequently, and I have to turn most of them down because I don't really have time. But that's the YouTube channel has been the biggest source of requests now. Okay, so let's see. We got Panchuka. Do you have any beginner advice on texturing, since modeling seems to be a very easy part for me? With texturing, I struggle with colors and if I should do hand-painted textures or what. Oh yeah, okay, so it depends on what you're after, of course. For me, that's one of the key things why I decided to go low poly and with solid colors. I always compared a little bit to pixel art, but for 3D. So the pixel art stuff is like, if you translate that in my world to low poly, then I like to do, if you've seen any of my other videos, I just use the triangles and polygons and color them with solid colors. But I understand your question is about texture painting, and then you've got two routes to go. I think one is hand painted, so you UV unwrap it. And then I've looked at some tutorials. Grant Abbott, among others, have got some pretty cool where he does texturing of a tree trunk and stuff, or like a piece of a tree and stuff, and wood, I think wooden crates and maybe a chest or something. I don't know if he did that. But then it's easier with a tablet or something, that because I find it quite difficult to draw in PaintShop or in Photoshop and stuff with a mouse. But it's doable, of course, especially. And then you can also use them I've tried a little bit inside of Blender to use the painting tools in there, and that sort of works if you want a hand-painted look. And then you've got another alternative, and that's to go with something like Substance Painter, which I find really good. But I think for me, it's been mostly good for hard surfaced stuff, or similar to spaceships, where you need the edge wear and stuff. So that's a good route if you want to procedurally generate your textures instead. But it could be, there's a lot of tutorials on that, so you could check it out. So let's see, Ola Jetlund. So Imphenzia, I'd like to see something in Unity on using physics to create movement controls, changing forces as opposed to changing velocity. Okay. Could you elaborate a little bit on what type of physics? I've tried, when I create platform games, I've done both ways. I've done where I manually just have a character controller and I move it without physics. And then I've also had physics driven where I change the velocity, and then I've tried to do where you apply forces. It's not so good for me to do it on a character, but for space games, I've done something where you have inertia and stuff when you do like an asteroid type of shooter. It could be pretty cool. So then you just add forces, and then when stuff explodes, then you have add force at position, and you can have it affect. That's good for a single player game. If you want to do multiplayer, you should always be careful when it comes to having physics, because trying to replicate physics between machines across the network is inherent lag and everything. That's trickier, very tricky. So often you want to simulate everything across the network without the physics, making sure that all the objects are lerping or interpolating to the right locations, and then try to do physics on stuff that doesn't really matter. Like a ragdoll, for example, it doesn't have to look the same on both computers. So when a character gets shot in ragdolls, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart how they fall, because it's two different people spectating from two different. So if they just see something ragdoll, it doesn't have to ragdoll in the same way on both computers. So if you do multiplayer, try to avoid synchronizing. There's a lot of data that needs to get sent across otherwise. So, all right. I hope you guys are okay with me just doing a Q&A today, maybe. Maybe that's what we're doing, because I've already spent 45 minutes, and I love to just share. As much as I try, like I realize that sometimes I just create a video and I do something that I think that people want to see. But maybe I should do every now and then, I'll do a session where I just do Q&As and stuff and try to help people out, because I really want to share as much as possible. I didn't really have anyone to ask when I started to make music. I just sort of read magazines and I try to fill around and randomly create stuff. So I'd be happy to help as much as possible. So I'll just keep making sure that I try to catch the questions here. It's 2:08 in my country and watching Imphenzia. Ooh, are you in, say, India or something? Parabal? So video games with a Z here. Hi, and thank you for the tutorials, Imphenzia. It helped me a lot. Have a great live stream. Ooh, thanks. Glad. Happy I can help. And I'm Colleen is saying, I love the response, Jude. So that should be a podcast clip right there. Maybe I should cut some segments out and post it. Love that you're grinding your behind off. Didn't it? It didn't that pass through the filter there. And keep creating. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what keeps me sane and happy. just creating stuff. I realized that when I spent in my day job, if I spent a full-time day job and even overtime, sometimes I did that in my IT security work, and I couldn't find any time for game dev, or I call it game dev, but it's anything creative related, whether it's music, sound effects, 3D modeling, programming, even web development or animation. My soul needs to do stuff like that just to stay happy. I think it's just like a creative outlet, and I'm happy when I see other people in that frame of mind as well. It's nice to have that to share with people. So it's cool. I'm happy. Let's see. So Tanner, do you think selling models on the asset store still works? It seems like a lot of models have been done until now. Yeah, it's. I think I sort of still ride on the asset store in terms of past success and stuff. So people know a little bit about my projects and stuff. I don't really promote it, and unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to maintain them at the moment. So I don't really know what the state is in the last couple of years. I know that for a while there was, like I said, a golden era of assets. You could create a lot of stuff and sell it there, and it could get noticed. And there was mediocre stuff, and even if you were like mediocre like me, you could create something and sell it there. And then I noticed over like a couple of 2-3 years, some really big people and even companies went in to sell assets there and created amazing things. So it's definitely more difficult to get noticed there. But it's still, it's a good step in. It's worth having it there because it's not that much work, especially if you do 3D modeling or sound and music. Those don't really require that much maintenance. Some of the coding assets that you release and sell, those will change with every update of Unity. Maybe they'll change the APIs or something. So when I created universal sound effects, that was one of the conscious things. So I wanted to create something that was going to remain quite static. Sound effects are always going to be in the same format and stuff. So be aware that if you're creating something code, I know you asked about modeling there, but assets, just anyone else, if you're thinking about making something, it's much harder, I'd say, to do code-related things, because it's a lot of maintenance and documentation that needs to go along with that, and a lot of support requests as well. So Ola Lund here again. So character control like planes, for instance. I'm still on my submarine project and I'm not satisfied with my work. Yeah, I've actually tried with my son. I was going to create a simple plane simulator because he's like, oh, Dad, I want to make something like a little a game where you fly around a plane. And then that was harder than I thought. I thought, okay, I'm just going to apply a force forward and then I'll fake something. I'll just have it steer left and right, roll a little bit, pitch. And then I realized as soon as I started that's not how you want to do it, because simulating a plane, it's more difficult. So I thought, okay, I'll do some basic stuff when it comes to simulating some lift that, so simulate very, very basic aerodynamic type of thing. And then I even tried to download some, I tried the Unity's built-in plane controller. It didn't work for me the way I wanted it at all. So in the end, we didn't actually end up going so much forward with that. So it's another good thing that I like space games, because space physics is a lot easier. It's just like apply a force, don't have any drag or anything, and just have it fly and then move it. So, but I understand your request there. I can understand, especially if it's buoyancy, like if you're experiencing with ships or something, or if you're doing submarines. I can definitely understand that that's a tricky thing. Actually, in fact, that's a very good topic. I should explore that and maybe come up with something. So Avocado Fire, Imphenzia's endless runner jumps feel really good. Okay, that's another thing I want to touch on then, the jumping. Because as you learn, there's a few things that when you apply physics in Unity, with the first few platformers that it did, I used real physics, and I used like 981 square meters acceleration, like the normal Earth gravity. And then I also didn't care about any of the input lag. If I share the screen here, maybe. So here, with the project settings and input, here's some input manager access here. When you do stuff and you want to control something with the horizontal and vertical axes here, you see you've got these settings here, sensitivity and gravity. I think it's these things. If you're making a platformer or something, if you want it to be more responsive, make sure that you increase this to like 100 or something. Because otherwise you'll have like a delayed input lag. So when you steer something left and right, actually, maybe we'll do a little demo here. So let's get that cube. Let's bring that back from this layer. So if I just create a simple script here, right click and do movement. And then on the okay, it needs to compile. And then we drag this one onto here. Double click on it, let Visual Studio start, have a coffee while that's happening. I've actually prepared a coffee. I even bought a coffee today. I've got a subscription, a coffee subscription. So for 15, this is not a promotion by the way. So for, what is it, $15 a month, I can pick up one new coffee every 2 hours. So it's very unhealthy probably. Very. Here, let's go. So here in the update, we'll do transform translate. And we'll just grab input.get axis. Is it with a capital? I don't remember. Vertical times. Then you want to multiply it by delta time to make a frame rate independent, and maybe we'll multiply it by 100 there. And let's see, vertical. What am I missing here? Okay, so I have to multiply it by a vector 3.right times, because this is a float value that I get from the input. It's going to be the positive with the right key or negative with the left key, and then right is just a predetermined vector. I just wanted to show here. So if we press play now, that's about as far as my programming skills goes without Googling stuff, but I'm probably still got something wrong. So, okay. And I probably didn't spell it right, or did I? So project settings, horizontal, I think I did. Oh, vertical. Okay. Get the axis is right. I pressed left and right. Nothing happened because it wasn't vertical. Okay, that was very fast. So we don't have to multiply by 100 apparently. This compile thing you can actually get rid of temporarily if it's too slow. But so here, when I do, okay, so I want it a little bit faster. And if you, let's do a little micro tutorial here. If you wanted to configure that instead of having to write code every time, we can do that speed. Control period is a good one. You can do generate field for movement there. Then it control period on something if you just want the variable there, it brings it up to here in Visual Studio. Am I sharing the screen? Yeah. So here we'll do, and if you want to expose this one into the inspector, you could either do it public, which we don't want to do because that's not the right way to do it apparently. We want to do serialize field here instead, and then default it to maybe 2 or something. F you have to put if it's a float. And we don't want to do vector 3, we want to do float instead. So now instead of changing the code there every time, we can just change it on the fly here. So very basic stuff here, but let's do maybe 4 is the speed that we want. And we do left and right. So now if this was a platformer now, it'd be the most crappy platform in the world because you can't really do much. But if you notice now when I press A or left arrow, it like accelerates and then slows down. And when I did my platformers, I did this for a lot of games, and it didn't feel good at all. And the reason why that is happening is by the axis that's configured here. It's if you look at the horizontal here, it's the gravity. Let's increase that one to 300 and the sensitivity to 300 or something. It just needs to be like a higher value. Then when you press play and do, then you can see like it goes straight away, and you probably want even faster movement. But that's one of the key first things. This has got nothing to do with physics. This is just like pure responsiveness of the input. So just to tie back to that question with the platformer is that you want to make sure that your input is snappy, tactile. Compare it to other platformer games, you'll find out that that's one of the key things. That you want it to be really responsive, so when they play, it's not that like yo-yo, like rubber band type of thing. And then another thing that I mentioned as well is for the jumping. Then you don't often want to run a platformer in. Let's see if you go to physics here. You don't really want to keep the default. I usually ramp this one up to -30 or something, because you want, like, if you imagine Super Mario or something, and you have like a platformer guy and he runs. If you have real physics, it feels like you're doing it in slow motion. They're like, whoa, it feels like super weird, like you're in a dream, slow motion. So maybe with a high physics and a higher gravity setting, like -30, 40, or 50 even, and then make sure that then you get those really quick, snappy jumps. So those are 2 top tips if you want to have a little bit responsive like that. Back to the questions. Christopher Harris, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Christopher. Thanks. So, why did I get super excited there suddenly? I just saw the chat again. Let's check it out. Some more questions. Am I missing something? So, IJ, the Asus TUF T15 costs $850 here. I better get it. Hey, can I get a better desktop laptop in the budget? Well, here's another one. If you don't need a laptop, I don't recommend getting a laptop, but that's just me. I'm like, my productivity, again, if you want to flush a toilet 3 times, that's how productive I get when you stick me on a laptop. I don't do well on a laptop. First of all, it's like the fiddlier, like little tiny keyboard. Even with a separate screen, it's just not for me. So I'd rather spend the money and get a more performant desktop machine if I'm not planning to go. If you need to go bring it to like a coffee shop or something, then it's probably better with a laptop, of course. But that's personal preference. That's just me. You get more bang for the buck, I'd say, with a stationary one. Ostkaka, how far is the coffee shop? You don't live in the middle of nowhere, like in Norrland, north of Skåne, border. No, I live about 800 meters from this coffee shop. So I go there every time I drop off the kids for school or something, or pick them up. I usually go once or twice a day or something. Yes, Bucky Programmer, you didn't at Imphenzia. Make sure you at if you have a question. Because I could miss it, but this one happened to be the one at the bottom. Do you have to pay $100 for every game release on Steam? Unless they've changed the price, I believe that's the case. So $100 it is to pay for the Steam game. And I'd say back 5 years ago and more, you couldn't even pay to release a game on Steam. You had to get your project greenlit or selected by Steam. So literally, to release a Steam game, you had to create a game project, promote it, and then you probably had to go through the green light process. So you couldn't even pay your way into it, or you had to know someone, I think, there to like promote the game, so they'd pick it up or something, or a publisher could do it. But then they changed that. I think it's maybe 5, 6, 7. Well, time goes. It's probably 8 years ago, since time flies so fast. But then since then, you can pay the fee. So I think it's pretty reasonable. If they didn't have that, I mean, it's already thousands and thousands of games. I think Line War on the wish list is like number 850 in the wish list. No, 700 or something out of thousands of games. So there's so many games being released on Steam every day. It's absolutely insane. So I can understand. They could probably increase that to $1,000, actually. Sounds crazy, but it's just, it's a problem, I think, even for game devs, that there are so many projects on there. Don't quote me on that with $1,000. It was just a mental little glitch that I had. Let's see. Tanner, I can really suggest for the newbies to study math, especially with vectors in the beginning. Yeah, it's a good tip. I'm stuck at math, really. Even though I do a lot of procedural stuff, I have to Google everything and learn and test. So my brain, I test a lot of stuff. I sort of have a vision on how something should work. When I do in like atmospheric scattering or something, or when I do shader work, or if I do compute shaders for the stuff, unfortunately, my brain sort of sees how it should probably work, and I sort of know with what type of vector operations and stuff is needed, and it's a lot of trial and error for me. So if that approach works for you, don't be too sad, because if it works, that's the most important thing. Just making sure. I think there was an interview with, the creator of Blender? I should know his name, of course. What's the name of the creator of Blender, the main guy? Anyway, he was interviewed by Blender Guru, I think, and one of the top tips he had, because he said, what type of code do you like? Does it have to be according to all the specifications and by the book? And something, I don't know exactly the quote, but he said he likes, doesn't care if it's a beautiful code, he cares if the code works, and it's the same for me. It's like, as long as it works, that's the main thing. And that's so if you're making a game and the code works, that's the key. Okay, so hello. This is the first time I caught you live. Hello, Hunter3 or DH. Welcome. Happy to provide. I've been chatting away here just for like an hour. Hopefully, I'm not wasting people's time too much. It's actually been an hour exactly now. Just want to share as much as I can. That's what I'm trying to. I'll do a Q&A today. So it was bit of anything to do with like the games industry, indie game development, Blender, Unity. Let's fire it away. Let's ask questions. I'll be happy. Do at Imphenzia if you want to do it. What's this one do? Oh, okay. That was the wrong one. Oh, India. A lot of Indian people are following me, actually. So, welcome. Thanks for the beginner tutorial. Very helpful. I think I caught all the questions that were... I think that's all the questions that I've had. Have you guys got any more questions? I'll be happy to answer them. Let's do... today became an official Q&A, like ask me anything type of thing. I'll check out... Surprise end of stream. Yeah, I clicked the wrong thing. Accidental. I think I'm still live. No, I'm not finishing. I'll do a little bit more. Still got the energy. Still got coffee left here. It's cold, but I don't really care. I drink cold coffee too. Good evening from Scotland. Well, good evening from Sweden. We're in the same time zone-ish. Just 1 hour difference. Okay, I don't even know what this is. Why not make a game in UPBGE 3.1? What is that even? Can you elaborate? What's UPBGE 3.1? Okay, Rat Cavern, how to get a girlfriend. Get really good at modeling. But not 3D modeling. Just, I don't know. Karan Kumar, do you make NFT? I freelance in everything, including that, yes. His name is Tom Rosenthal. I don't even know who that is, actually. Rosen. Let's see. Punkala. I repeat the previous question. Oh, sorry. Did I miss something? Could you please make a video about how to do elevation and jumping in isometric games? So, elevation and jumping in isometric games. I'm trying to process that. So, it's not like a platformer, but elevation. Could you describe what you mean by elevation? Oh, isometric. Okay, I see. So is it like a 2D game with 2D isometric tiles that you want to simulate jumping onto platforms? If that is the case, I would probably go the route of doing it 3D anyway and changing this camera here to... this might be already common knowledge or something. Well, let's say we have the camera here. Rotate it and move it down a bit. And let's get in a rotation. I don't know what the actual rotation is meant to be like, but let's do like something like this with the camera or something. So this is, of course, isn't isometric, but if you wanted to make a game that looks... Can I even move this? Let's see here. I should have just moved it differently. Never mind. Let's just try to position it somewhere. There we go. Sort of. So I would switch the camera here from perspective to orthographic. Then, and I'd simulate the stuff, because then you could still simulate everything in 3D. So if I had another object here, and let's go to the scene view. Let's split these actually so we can see both. Move it. Then I would just use normal physics here to simulate, if you look on the right here, I'd make it like an isometric games using the orthographic view instead, and then use it 3D, because then everything like colliders, triggers, jumping, obscuring, stuff that's behind, everything. I don't know if that was the question, but... Oh, crap. I did it again. So it bit me. Finally, it bit me. There we go. Okay, so check this out. I should have some assistant that tells me. But I know you're helpful in the chat, of course, but I still miss it. Let's see. Where's my assistant? Let's check. Not there. Yeah, so this is what I meant. So main camera, you have orthographic here. Instead of perspective, this is the default one. So if let's zoom out. Am I sharing this time? Yeah. So if you put the camera, this is what the normal camera in Unity looks like. So it's not isometric or anything. But if you Google what the angle is and then set it here to the rotation, I think it's like, it's not 45 degrees, but it's something like that. Switch it to orthographic, then you get that orthographic or isometric look. And then I would do, so anything that moves here now or jumps on top or something, let's say moves up and down, I would probably do it there. You get so many things for free by doing it that way. You get like triggers, physics, shadows, everything. I don't know if that answers your question, but let's see. Fail chick, yeah, I've got it here. That deserves a full screen, doesn't it? Fail check. So, sorry for that. Missed it. Ghosty Fab, you're doing it again, not showing your screen. I don't know. How do I get away from that? Okay, so UPBGE is Blender 3.1 with a built-in game engine with all the tools of Blender 3.1. Yeah, so I don't really understand why you'd use Blender as a game engine. I still don't understand that. I don't know why they implemented it, and I don't know why you would want to use it over any of the game engines that are specifically doing game engine stuff. Like, why? It feels like using a hammer to screw in a nail in my world. So I couldn't really do anything because I don't know how to. Does this approach work with retro pixel graphics? Okay, well, that's another story then, of course. Then, no, it wouldn't. But you can simulate it, and that is, I won't be able to do it in video because I'd need to research it a little bit, but I think how people solve it is, let's just create something here, like a material, let's change it to red, drag it onto this object or something, so we separate them. I think what people do to simulate pixel graphic is that you change here, you can see, let's see if I even remember. Output here, yes. You would output it to a render texture. So I'd create, I probably can't remember this on the fly here, but render texture, create a render texture, and then do it like pixel arty. So back in the Amiga days, it was and the CGA days and the low res CGA, it was 320 by 240. So you create a texture, and here's very important, you change the filter mode to point instead of bilinear, so it doesn't do any interpolation. And then here, you would change the output here to the render texture. And you can't see that now, but if I select this one, let's see, here. Now, if I zoom in the camera or something, okay, this is trickier than I thought. There we go. Okay, I can't zoom it in either because it won't allow me to zoom in. It's such a low res texture now, but you'll get the idea probably that now if I move the camera, oh, again. Do you know what? I should just stick on this. I should stick on this screen. How incompetent can someone be? So here we go. What I did was main camera here. I should just stick on one screen. I don't know why I bother going up full screen. That's stupid. Okay, what did I do? Main camera here. I changed down here, output texture. Okay, let's just redo this thing. Let's do it properly. Delete it. There we go. So here, I right click here. I'm showing it now for sure. Yeah, create. And I did render texture. And then I set the resolution here to 320 by 240. And then I changed something here. Let's see. Here, filter mode, change it from bilinear to point. And then on the camera, you scroll down and the output texture here, you drag the render texture to there. Then you see that it doesn't show the camera then at all. It's because it's rendering to this texture now instead. So if I make any changes here, I think what I could do is, if you click on this little padlock icon up here, then I can change something here and it stays active to this render texture. So if I move this now, it might not update it on the 100% on the fly, but let's try it. When I let it go, there we go. So it updates after a while there. So this way, then you would render to this texture, and this is actually a pixel texture. So if I do, can you do the magnifying glass or something? Magnifier. Does this work even? Magnifier. I don't even know how to use it. Maybe it's loading. Here we go, magnifier. Can I do even more? This is the most terrible thing. Okay, so it looks like it's interpolating that one actually. Why is it doing that? Okay, that was the worst thing ever. I don't think... I think it was actually the magnifier that interpolated it. That was weird. But anyway, if you do a point there, then this is basically becomes pixel art then. So I think that's how a lot of people solve it. Let's duplicate this one. Control D. Scale it up. So that's how you'd get, and then you would render, like you'd put this texture instead, the render texture, you'd put that on full screen, and that way you get pixel art. So that's one way to do it. You get shadows and everything, and then on the fly. Hopefully that helped. Ben BV, why do you choose Unity over Unreal? So for me, it's because Unity had, there were a couple of reasons why I chose that one. First of all, it was the one that I got introduced to first, and I wasn't going to make a first-person shooter game, which back in the day, Unreal Engine was really geared towards making first-person shooters more than anything, I'd say. So I got started with Unity, and I'd say that nowadays it's a big user community, and it's easier to do C# than it is C++. So I see Unity a bit like a Swiss Army knife. If you want to create any different type of game of any kind, any genre, anything, and if you want to have it on multi-platform, Unity is really good. That's why I chose that one. Especially if you want to do mobile games as well, or if you want to do a bit of mix and 2D games and stuff. So Unreal Engine, I would pick if you want to do. I'm actually going to try. I've set up a PC and I was going to record. I've said this for ages now, but I'm getting finally quite close. I'm going to install Unreal Engine 5 and see what I can do with just the blueprints. Because I'm a programmer more than a visual scripter type of guy. But I think the blueprints and all the built-in stuff, so certain type of games, I'd say the Unreal Engine seems to be really good for those. And one example that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago is that we had, I was trying to get fracturing to work in Unity. So I wanted to have an object that it could break apart, shoot at it and shatter it. So that's not built in by default in Unity. So I thought, okay, I'll have a go at doing it myself. So I did that, and I shattered stuff inside a Blender. And then I imported the object, and then I applied physics to it, and I fired bullet at it, and I realized that, okay, that worked, but if you shot everything around it, then you'd have some pieces hanging in the air and stuff. And then I searched for an implementation that someone else had done, and that could actually fracture objects on the fly using the NVIDIA sort of fracture mechanism. And then someone had done a hinge, a fixed joint implementation of making sure that you could see that you didn't have free hanging objects in the air and things. So that sort of worked, and then I thought, okay, that's okay. And then I wondered, in Unreal Engine, how would you solve it? And it turns out some things, including that type of thing, is built into the game engine. Stuff that is commonly wanted in games seems to be built in to a bigger extent in Unreal Engine. So I think it could be quite accessible that way, whereas in Unity, you'd have to find maybe a third-party implementation of it or an asset for it and stuff. So that's so far my feedback on that one. So do you use Fmod with Unity? I think Fmod runs in the background of Unity. That's abstracted away from us developers, so we don't really see it, but I think Fmod runs in the background of Unity. Smokes, first time catching you live. Thank you so much. I can finally model things without tutorials. Yay, thank you. I'm happy to hear that. Should I go full screen again? I'm going to forget to switch it back, but never mind. So, I have to get a haircut. My son the other day, well, what's left of it anyway. My son was, he's like, Dad, you don't seem to be losing your hair in the back. You've got a nice mullet going. So thanks for that, son. Let's see. Oskaka, you should make a mod producer channel on Discord so we can yell in your ear about. Yeah, I know. I should actually have that. So how many times have I done that mistake? And I forgot to do this one too. That's what I deserve. Fail chicken time. That's right. I'm going to be famous for not switching my screen. Bro, where are you from? Karan Kumar. I'm from Sweden, if you were asking me. I don't know. Maybe you're asking someone else. Maybe you're talking to each other in the chat. I didn't even consider that. So, I think, are we running out of questions for this time? I've been chatting away for like an hour and a half and doing minimum amount of stuff. But I got any more questions? I'll be happy to answer. Could be anything game dev related, any line war stuff, asset publishing, music, modeling, animation. I don't know, just fire away. I'll be happy to share anything that I could help with. Maybe a tutorial on how to switch the camera for between full screen face and screen capture. How did you get into low poly design, Rising Ghosts? Well, I like to prototype stuff. I like to do quick things, test out game concepts. I like to do the Ludum Dare games. So that's really how I got into low poly. I'd say with the first few Ludum Dare ones, And then I fell in love with the simplicity of the coloring of the low poly objects. And again, I compared it to the 3D equivalent of pixel art. So it just stuck to me. I really liked the fact that I could do something very simple, very clean. And also with the texturing model, one of the things I really like about, instead of painting the textures, first of all, I'm not really that good at painting the textures, but if you take this up, okay, I'm doing it again. But now I caught it. So here, if I do like this type of slicing on the object, and then I color it here, another thing I really liked with the low poly stuff is that you can compare to the, it doesn't have to do that much, but it's more of the coloring technique, but it's like you could zoom into this thing forever and you'd have really, really crisp, clean cuts. So that's one thing I liked about it. And then I just like the whole like modeling process of being able to model super simple, tweak around with it. It's really performant for mobile games. I really like that part. You could always use the same, whatever you modeled, you could use the same thing as a collider without too much hassle, even though you should mostly use primitive colliders. So, coding sucks. You remember me, Imphenzia? Oh, I don't know. I sort of remember your name there, but I can't remember. Coding. Oh yeah, I remember, because I actually remember that I like coding. Ha! So change your name. Coding rules. Jules Wombat, Imphenzia, how do you transfer animation of tank tracks into Unity from Blender tank models tracks? Very good questions. I've actually not tried that. And I probably even wouldn't, I think is the short answer. I have a feeling I would, I think for something like that, that's quite complicated. First, I'd have a quick look at it, implementing it myself, and then I would probably revert to getting a third-party implementation of it, like an asset or something. I would probably justify paying in the region of $50 to $100 or something, or 20 or whatever it costs. Maybe they're free, I don't know, to buy an asset for that instead. Because if it depends on how you value your time. If you have a limited amount of time and you want to learn it, then Google and try to figure out how to create. I think in Unity it would be some sort of a hinge implementation of physics rather than trying to do it as the animation. I'm thinking it depends on how realistic you want it, of course. So I would probably go that route. And I think in specific, since you asked, I think there are some assets that could do it for you. If you don't have the time and you want to spend the money, if you want to focus on the game, I'd probably look into those. One thing that I found, which is really good, is imagine that this was the tank. If I reverse this, am I showing? Yeah, I'm showing the screen. Good. So imagine just that this was the tank track now, because this is just, I know this is not exactly what you're asking, of course, but I wanted to help if anyone else has got the idea. So let's say that this was a tank track, low poly, of course, and let's say that this texture instead now was the texture of a tank track. Let's say you had textured that one, and then go to the top. Let's see, I'll have to do, I should have done this probably. I have to introduce some seams. Anyway, I won't do it in full, but what I want, if you unwrap this one, so it becomes like a long, let's see, you do unwrap something. I'm not saying that this is how it should look, but then you would pan the texture instead. So you would, I'm just trying to simulate. So imagine that you had the texture and you change the offset over time, then you would animate just the texture. So on a low poly object, maybe from this distance, I would do it that way. I'd draw like a tank track texture, I'd UV map, so this is all aligned into a long, instead of being connected like this, you'd create seams, and then you would animate it so they're all lined up. And then I've actually done that for some testing, and from a distance that looks good enough. But if you want the actual tracks to animate, then that's not an option. That's more of a low-level LOD. That's really performant way to do it. So, sorry, I must have missed a question then from, can you please re-answer my question because my net went down. I don't know what your question was, Vines. Sorry, could you repeat it in that case? Or you could just check out the repeat of the stream because it should be available after this. Maybe I did answer it. So, it's a complicated name here. Or Alex something, it's not that complicated, but it's a lot of words in one. What type of networking did you guys use for Line War? Are you utilizing, let's see, Steam's or Steam's peer-to-peer or NAT service? Or are you hosting your own servers externally? Did you use Mirror ML API? Okay, a few questions in there. So, Alex, let's start with that one. So we ended up using Unity's UNet, which is actually deprecated now, which is why we are still on Unity 2018 LTS, and we are about to upgrade to 2021 most likely. The reason why we stayed back on an old version of Unity is because Unity has a track record of making something and then deprecating it, and then not coming up with a replacement. So the netcode that was meant to replace Unit was not released when they deprecated Unit, and it wasn't for years. They kept having just loose references to something's coming, something's in preview, and we didn't really want to base something on stuff that was in preview. So we stuck to Unit, but we will migrate to the new netcode that I think they've finally released it. I'm hoping. We're just about to check it now. So that was part of the question. So we don't use peer-to-peer. We have our own server. So we compile the game server on Linux, headless Linux from Unity, compile that one, and then we upload that to, we've got a cloud hosting provider, and we launch those executables, Unity executables, as server executable or services. So we have on one VM with 4 vCPUs, we run 6 instances of that one, of the executable, the Unity build, headless Unity, Linux as services inside of Linux. So that acts as our game server because we wanted to have authoritative control over the actual game logic. So that runs in the cloud and not off any computers. So when players are matched up against each other, all the clients, all the computers that they have, it will just record the input for the commands that you create, and they'll send that to the server. The server does all the game logic, it applies all the AI, does all the command calculations, and it sends back the data to the client. And the data is just like positions of where the units are, which way they're heading, facing, if there are any firing or shooting animations or impacts and stuff. And then the client just takes, okay, so I'm supposed to render something here. The good thing about that is it's more difficult to cheat. So I wouldn't say it's always possible in some way or another to cheat. But if you, let's say one client, if you ran peer-to-peer and someone decided to run like a hack or something, then you could, that player could maybe reveal all the other players' units, or it could speed up the process or something, or do something nasty. Whereas at least those type of things are not possible in Line War because since it's running on the server and the clients have no say in that whatsoever, they just take the information. So even if you accelerated the time clock on your machine, then your units would temporarily move faster, but then they'd snap back all the time because the server is sending you the proper locations. So that was another part of the question. So we're hosting it ourselves. We're not using Mirror. I know that's, I think that's an open source continued implementation of Unit, right? But we haven't used that one. Not sure if we might end up on that one, depending on Unity's latest implementation. Another thing is that we custom coded everything. So the only thing that we got a messaging system, so all the objects are deserialized in Unity and then sent to the other machine or to the clients, and then they're sort of serialized there again. So we don't rely on any sort of automatic syncing of prefabs, or we don't synchronize any physics, anything like that. Everything is custom made because we want full control, and we could really use any network library, whether it's Photon or an API or a Mirror or UNet or anything we could really use. So let's see. So remember, at Imphenzia, if you want to ask me something, because then I spot it a little bit easier. So, okay, so you asked about the F1.5 costs $850. Can I get a better laptop or desktop? I'd suggest, so I don't repeat myself too much on the stream, but check out the replay of this one. I advise to maybe get a more powerful desktop for the same money, unless you really have to have the portability. How would, so Joshua is asking, how would Grease Pencil work in Unity or some cartoon shader? I haven't actually used Grease Shader really at all in Blender. I've only used it to draw something to shatter, so I couldn't really answer too much on that one. But cartoon shader, if that's more, then I know there's a lot of implementations of cartoon shaders where you do sort of cell shading, I think it's called, to do cartoon shaders. There are some best practices, or you could make something. I think there are some tutorials on about how to do it in Shader Graph and stuff too, or in Amplify Shader Editor if you're using that. So Mia PC, the official UE4 tank tutorial by Epic themselves shows how to make a tank in UE4, including moving tracks. Nice. I have to look at that one myself. Let's see. RJCA. Hi Imphenzia. I started Blender and Unity like 3 weeks ago, and your let's see, and your videos have been a godsend. Thank you very much. You're welcome very much. I'm happy to hear that. Always happy to help. So this ended up being a Q&A session. Just happy to hear that you guys are finding use out of my content. That's really why I put it out there. It's a lot of fun to share. I want to help as many people as possible getting into game development. And even though I'm like not an oracle and know how to answer everything, I can at least share how I tackle the problem and how I address half of this stuff. So let's see. Silas Star Imphenzia. If you want a good networking solution, then Tom Whelan's Riptide is really good. It allows for an insane amount of customization. It's super easy. Thanks. I'll copy and paste that one. I haven't looked at that one. I'll have a look at it. So I'll put that in my notes to check it out. Thank you. Let's see. I'll keep the Q&A going here. Panchuka. Imphenzia, what do you think of browser as gaming platform? Currently trying to create a multiplayer 3D WebGL game that is residing inside a web app. Vue React. Okay, so the cool thing about browser, of course, is that it's super accessible for people to play the game, which I like. Every Ludum Dare game that I make, I always make a WebGL build inside of Unity because it's so easy to, like, for people that just want to test out your game for a quick, and because people don't really have the time to sit and download an executable, plus it'll throw like warnings to say this was maybe unsafe and stuff if you haven't released it the proper way. Breathe. So I'd say it's cool that, you know, when it runs in a browser, if it's that type of a game. The few things that I don't like about it is that from like when you make the game, it always looks better in the compiled version than it does in the WebGL. There are some limitations when it comes to audio. You'll have a lot more issues with seamless looping audio, glitches, pops. Performance is worse, even if it's decent in WebGL still. Stuff like shadows won't look as good, and there's tons of things that just aren't working as good in WebGL. So every time I compile my game for WebGL, I swear a little bit internally, and I feel sorry for myself that someone has to see this version of the game instead. But that said, you can still make a lot of cool stuff in WebGL, and the fact that it's so easy to play, I mean, that's such a huge upside to it, so it's worth it. Benny BV, what tends to take up most time when creating a game in Imphenzia? Okay, so it totally depends on the game, of course. Stupid answer. That's a crap answer. So I'm going to try to elaborate a little bit on that. So when I make, that's why I like to do Ludum Dare games a lot, because it really puts stuff into perspective. Ludum Dare is a game job. It runs for 48 hours if you're doing the compo one, or 72 hours otherwise. So because I found that when I prototyped stuff, it was easy to come up with a playable prototype and you go, oh, this is fun. I'll do like a platform. I'll do a guy that jumps and it shoots some things. I can collect some coins. And I think, okay, I can have that done. When you're doing a Ludum Dare, that's done in like 4 hours or something. If you're experienced or something, 5 hours, you got that going. And then the rest of the time, and this is where the time is taken up a lot, then to take that and make it into a game, well, first of all, you might want to have to expand the content, so you can't just have a simple prototype level. Then you either need to create a whole bunch of levels, or you need to do it procedurally so it generates levels for you. So both of those are time-consuming. And then it comes into, like, is it fun or not to play? And if it isn't, you have to improve the core mechanic, the loop, and make that better and more fun. That takes time. And then when you've got that one down to, let's say it is fun, then the level progression is going to be an issue as well, because if you make it too difficult, people will drop off and don't play it. So that's another thing that could take time. I'm talking about smaller casual games at the moment. Maybe I'll touch a bit on Line War and the bigger projects later on. So when it comes to the small project, you've got that one. And then you need to tie the whole thing together. So you don't want to just start a game and jump into the gameplay. You need a state machine. And you need to be able to transition. Let's say you get into a main menu, you need a UI there, that takes a bit of time. And then when you press play, you need to transition to a game scene and you'll play. Maybe you'll reset everything, so you have to have either reload the level, that takes a bit of time. You need to reset everything back to the default values. So that could be a time-consuming thing. Then you might implement some high-score stuff, that takes time. So it's about, none of these are like the biggest time thieves together, so it's just maybe about the same amount on all of these things. And then you start throwing in some sound effects. Maybe you buy or compose music for it. That'll take some time. And then so the game state machine really needs to be able to transition between the different. You have to define, like, okay, I've got a main menu, I've got start game. You need to initialize everything. I'll play the game, make stuff happen. Maybe something dies. You need to respawn the object, and then you'll come into a point where the prototype that you made will have, like, you created a character that can jump and stuff and lose health, but when that dies and you destroy that game object, well, maybe you want to spawn a new game object, so you have to create all those as pretty neat prefabs and make sure everything like that works. So, and you have to clean up a little bit after yourself as well, so you don't get memory leaks and things like that. So all of these things, I'd say, like, take time just and iterate over and over it again. So a lot of those things. So if the first 4 or 5 hours in a game jam is spent on creating the core mechanic and some of the basic content, the other 75% of the time is tying together, making it a little bit more fun, extending the experience, and not to forget as well. Here's a big one. So if you create a game and you expect people to know how to play it, that's a big mental failure. People are not going to know how to play it, even if you think, like, this is obvious what you should do here. And I'm even talking about the simpler games. That's another good thing about the game jams, because when you see people stream or play your little prototype game, you think it's obvious that this needs to happen, but people don't know it. So at the very most basic thing, you should implement some sort of instructions, at least, how to play the game, so they know. Don't expect them to learn it. But that's the poor man's implementation, or the cheap or fast one. So what you would probably need to do is start to introduce some sort of a tutorial, and that takes a long time, because then you need to start validating stuff, or should I present information in game? So if it comes to either I do it the first time it occurs or something, I should create a new UI now that pops up and don't show this again or something, or should I, you have to think about how to do that one. And this is actually a huge issue in Line War at the moment, because we've created a multiplayer game where, I mean, that whole project has taken us 2.5 years, and a lot of that is game balance and just implementing all the features, random procedural world generation. So all of these are like month-long sprints that we have to go through. So you'd think that, okay, now we're just going to introduce a tutorial. But what sounds so easy to do is like, okay, let's just make a tutorial. Well, you got a single player game, which is like you can draw commands and stuff, but to create a tutorial, you need to suddenly start to, okay, I need pop-ups to describe what you're going to do. I have to detect if you're drawing it the correct way. I have to record something to present it, so it creates a scenario for it. So, but it sounds a bit simple maybe, but a tutorial for us would take, I'm not even kidding, it's like 3 months of work for 2 guys full time just to get those tutorials interactive to work. So we went on the route at the time being to implement those as in-game videos instead. All right, let's go. Hope that gave a little bit of a answer. Excessively long. Let's see. Oh, I'm going to scroll up now here again. I've missed a lot of stuff here. What? Okay, so here I think I was. Roga me what? Imphenzia, what do you think about paid 3D software like Maya or Max? Well, I'm sure they're, of course, excellent, very good, been around for ages, and Maya is probably the industry standard for a very good reason. So I'd say that I would have expected those to be more polished, and I think there's a reason why those are still the industry go-to, but Blender is catching up so fast. There's such a big community behind Blender. So I don't really, I mean, I'm perfectly fine. People need to make a living and creating software to sell that's really high quality and supported and stuff. It's cool. I mean, that's a job like any other. So I think it's good that they exist. And I think it's cool that Blender is coming to cover the market for the people that can't pay that sort of money for it. Gladison Costa, is GameDev your side job or main? Okay, currently it's my main job, but it's not very paid one, because I've been working on Line War full-time for 2.5 years, nearly 3 years now, and that's paid absolutely 0 kroner. It's only cost us money so far. Maybe, I think, was it $15,000 each that we've put in just to have the company up and running, and then taking no wages from that. So I don't know if I can call myself a professional game dev, because but I do it full-time. So, but we'll start to sell the game. We're just about approaching a release now, so hopefully it'll make money in the end to pay back those years that we haven't actually made anything from it. So again, it's a definition, I guess. But what I do make a bit of money on is freelance modeling, and I do the game asset sales and stuff. So I guess it's still game dev related things, and some from the YouTube stuff. So in Sweden, you pay a lot of taxes, and there's a lot of outgoings, and when you have kids and family and car and house and stuff, it doesn't cover all of that, but it contributes to it. So, and before that, I did I did Imphenzia part-time, so my main job was as an IT security consultant. I did that for 20 years, so I had a good enough that the people that was, or the company that was employed for, I could really go between like 20% and 100%. They were really flexible that way, so I could put 100% into that job at a peak where I needed it for maybe 3 months or something, and then I could drop down to 20% and focus on asset and game development. So I had that flexible thing going for probably 5 years or so. So, but now it's full time. So long answer to a short question. So this is a Q&A stream in my point of view. Yeah, question. It turned into just a chat here. I don't know. Hopefully some people will find it useful. So hello, please make some videos on how to make multiplayer games. Okay, that's such a tricky subject. I should touch on a few, maybe some advice on multiplayer games. So something that I've always been inspired, like I've always wanted to create multiplayer games. That's been like ever since 20 years ago when I wanted to make a top-down racing game similar to the low poly racing thing. I've always thought, okay, I'm a multiplayer person. I don't really like single-player games. Like multiplayer, that's like what I really love to do. And with Line War, I've learned so many things about multiplayer. I always knew that it's a technical challenging thing, and that's one of the things that you have to care about, that it's quite tricky to not only to develop and think how you're going to do it, because it doesn't look same on two computers, and stuff that's very easy to run on one thread in one computer, when you need to replicate it to a separate one, or maybe 10, 50 machines or something like that, it becomes quite tricky. And once you get past that hurdle, what else was I going to say? Oh yeah, then it's the whole thing of testing, because we've built it so in Unity it simulates network traffic. So we've got like in editor, we can press play and it simulates that you've got two clients running in the same scene. So that's quite a tricky thing to set up and do. You could do the other way of compiling all the time. That's the other way to do it. Like you compile a client and you could run one in the editor and you run the server. But for every time you need to test something, if you need to build a client and do that, it's like 2 minutes, 5 minutes or something of repetitive work every time you need to do it. So it's better time to spend it and emulate the networking within a scene. That's what we ended up doing. So it's quite complicated and doing that. So I realized I might do a video about it, but I just wanted to touch on a few things. Maybe it can help a few people out along the way. And then another very important thing when it comes to multiplayer games is concurrency. I know a lot of people are freaking out when you see like photons and stuff, and you go, oh, this is only for 100 concurrent users, and they charge a fortune or something. And it's only for 100 users. But believe me, 100 concurrent users for your indie game, if you've got that, you've done a really, really good job. Because that, I think it translates that maybe about 1% of the people that buy the game will concurrently be playing it. And to play it in a multiplayer environment, so to have 100 concurrent, that would be like selling at least 10,000 copies of the game to reach that. So, and why I'm saying this is it's difficult when you release a multiplayer game, because matchmaking, let's say you wanted to do something like Fall Guys or something where you have like 50 people running in a world, or you wanted to make a battle royale with 100 players battling against each other. Remember that when you make a game like that, you have to matchmake people. People need to find a lobby and join that one and play together. So that you quickly run out of people to put together in games. And we're fortunate in the way that Line War only requires 2 people that are looking for a game at the same time, and we pair those together. But even so, with thousands of people that have downloaded the demo and stuff, it's still amounts that we might have 20, 30 games, maybe 50, 60, 70, 80 concurrent players or something like that. But big concern when it comes to multiplayer games is that it will be difficult to launch and have the matchmaking where it's a big issue. So I would advise anyone to start off making single-player games. Don't make a multiplayer game the first game. And as I say that, my co-dev, Basantos, his nickname, like mine, is Imphenzia, but his name's Christian. This is actually his first game. So he's actually doing something that I don't recommend nearly anyone to do, because it's like taking on a real-time strategy game with multiplayer, with AI, with the procedural worlds and everything like that, and then making that into your first game. I would not recommend nearly anyone to do that. The only reason why I believe he's a really good guy to do it is that he's worked professionally in object-oriented development and web programming, and built a company that was sold, and he's been an entrepreneur, and he is a really, really skilled developer. Plus, he developed the board game, so the game design thing is solid. Over 20 years he's developed it. So if anyone could do it, I'd say that he was a good one. So it's not, but I think in general, I would definitely do single-player games first and then start to play around a bit with multiplayer after that. Hope that makes sense. So, Jim Engström, what takes up most time when you create a game? Answer, just asking. It's will you come over for coffee? Yeah. Should I come over? Yeah, I should. Jim is my longtime friend, and in every 10th stream I say, I'm going to come over, and then either I get sick or my kids get sick, and Corona time has been around, so I'm blaming it on that. Well, I should definitely come over. Jules Wombat, me a piece okay. I guess like Imphenzia, I may need to invest into Unreal Engine. I only have a little brain and don't up to full speed with Unity yet. Okay, I'm looking forward. Like I said, I want to try Unreal Engine 5 as well, because I want to create maybe a super simple platformer with blueprints to see how good it is. So I think it'll be good. All right, so the Super Farva. Imphenzia, thanks so much for all your tutorials and hard work you have done to help us all. I've learned so much from you. Thanks. Well, I'm glad that I can help out. One of the key things I want to learn as well is that I'm not really... Like, I find ways to solve things, and I don't, like, if I've realized that if someone said, can you show me this right now? And most often, I probably can't. Like, when I launch Unity or something, I'm probably as lost as most people. But one of the key skills that I think I managed to obtain and that I'm not afraid of is accepting the fact that you don't know it, but you just figure out a way how to solve the issue. You know what you want to do. Let's say you're in, I'm not sharing the screen, I know that, but let's say you're in, like in here, and you go, okay, so I need to like apply physics to this one, and then I'll Google it. When I started to do Blender, okay, I want this object here. So let's switch. Oh, they've changed the UI so much I don't even recognize, because I'm still using an older version of Unity when I develop things. So I'm like totally lost. These are icons nowadays. Okay. Ooh, totally lost. Never mind. So let's say in here, like I wanted to, I'd Google like apply physics to a game, and then I would, when I do that, I'd search and find, okay, I need something called a rigid body. How do I do that? Okay, I can add a component, or I could do it through here. Component, okay, what do I have? Physics, rigid body, okay, why can't I add it? Okay, I need to select this. Just making sure that I've got it. So component, we got here, where did it go? Physics, there. Rigid body, okay. So what happens then? I'll take away this movement script, reset, press play, what happened? This is how I started when I did a lot of Unity stuff. Okay, ooh, look, it falls down. Okay, I wonder if I could make it fall faster, or what happens if I apply forces. So that's how I started to do it. I don't even know what the question was. I go on too much. So, Tanner Eminent, thanks for the QAs. Well, you're welcome. I don't know, hopefully these help. Maybe I should do them every now and then, because I'm really, really happy to share as much as I can. I don't really want to hold back on anything. And my answers might not be the correct ones, but at least I can... If anyone's wondering stuff, how I did stuff, I'll be happy to help it. So, texture tracks, okay. Okay, do you use scriptable... So Rasmus Roos is asking, do you use scriptable objects in Line Wars? And how old are you? So scriptable objects, let's see. Yes, I use scriptable objects, or we do, for config stuff. So for the world settings, for example, like the probability of an energy well spawning should be in the range of such and such. And often, so for anyone who doesn't know, a scriptable object, I can just, okay, and it did it again. Check it out. Every time, halfway through the stream, I learn. So, scriptable object. Oh no, do you know what? I'm not going to add it because I have to do that. So it adds it up here to the menu and stuff. But it's basically like a C# script that's not a mono behavior, and it can store data. And I use it to store stuff like animation graphs and stuff, so we can have a probability range. So the probability of spawning an energy well should be between this curve, or maybe it's a height mapping. So when we do the world generation of the procedural world, I have like an animation curve that describes the profile of a world. So like C bottom down here, and it goes up. So I create stuff like that, stick it in a scriptable object as a data container, and use different config files that way. So we don't use it that much, but we use some of it. Oh yeah, how old are you? I'm 46. Woohoo, 46, like the country code of Sweden. I don't know how I got to 46. Not the fact that I'm confused. I just wonder how it happened to the last 20 years. they accelerated when you get kids and when you're always busy. I was speaking to my son today, and if you want to live longer, or if you want to feel like you're living longer, you should have a super boring life. Because time goes a lot slower when you're bored, or when you're not having fun, or if you're in pain, then it goes slow. So having a fun life is actually not that good, because time goes super fast. So there, Snoobly. You will always have a place in my heart after Poly Racer tutorials. Yeah, at least you didn't hack on me for not releasing another one. When's episode 6 coming? I don't know. Will it? I don't know. Maybe it will. Maybe when Line War is released. Let's see. So Ben BV, thoughts on NFTs in games? Yeah, I'd say any casual games, no NFTs in those, because I think the world is not really ready for that yet. But for NFT specific games that are for NFT people, great. If they want to do that, that's fine. When do you have your freelance modeling work? Is it in low poly? Most of it is, yeah, because that's how people find me, to do low poly stuff. So I'd say most of my freelancing is low poly. I try to not take on too much, because I really struggle with the time. So I've done it to cover the fact that Line War hasn't generated any revenue yet. So I've had to do that. I'm scrolling back up now. So Brennan, do you have any good resources or tutorials on making card games in Unity? I'm having trouble figuring out what type of camera system to use for cards that interact with the 3D board. Okay, I don't have any resources, and I don't really have knowledge about card games, so that's why I've always been intrigued by them, but I've never tried it. So unfortunately, I can't point you in any good tutorial or direction there. I'm just trying to think. If it's a 2D game, I'd go for an orthographic view, because then you don't get the distortion of the cards. If you lay out cards like this, then I would go for, okay, so I'll just share the screen here. I don't know if this makes any sense, but on the camera here, I would switch, like perspective here is the default one, and it's rendering to a render texture, so I have to disable that. So if we do this camera, let's say this one was showing playing cards instead, then I described this earlier in the stream, but then you'd switch to orthographic mode. Then that flattens it out. The main thing with that mode is that if I move this is terrible. Let's reset this thing actually. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Move it back. There. And the thing, when you can't move the camera back, you need to actually change the size here. The benefit of this is that it doesn't distort the card. I don't know if this is maybe not what you're asking, but if you had a card facing the screen, imagine that this is a card. Now, let's resize this one. Am I showing the screen? Yeah. So let's say that this is a card. And if I could hit these things, Control D, duplicate. So these are the cards. You'll see the difference now. So if this was 4 cards on the screen now, then the perspective is like it looks like a card. But if you have this camera instead as a perspective camera, you'd have the cards flat anyway. But it could be an issue that they're showed like that. So that could be maybe a tip. And you can also combine. You can actually have 2 different cameras rendering. So one could be rendering the cards in orthographic mode with a transparent background, and you can overlay that if you have a backdrop of the card game. Let's say you've got like an auto battler where you have lane fighters or something. Then you could actually have a separate camera rendering perspective, and you have one camera rendering orthographics. You just control that with calling masks and rendering order here with some stuff. All right, so you'll be a professional game dev. Yeah, maybe if we sell the game. Woo! Okay, Dan, not Daniel. Is there a good video that shows the gameplay mechanic for Line War? I've got the tutorials in-game that shows a lot of the mechanics, I guess. I'm not sure what the question was exactly, the mechanic. So, the gameplay mechanic is that you draw visual commands, the AI takes over, so the units will say, oh, this is a command for me, and it'll attract those, and it'll calculate a lot of paths to join in and act on those commands, and it'll search for enemies and stuff. So I don't really have any dev perspective on that one, but I'm looking forward to creating some dev videos relating to it. Okay, sorry, I missed a lot of questions here. So RJCA, a question on efficiency. If I model a weapon and a scope attachment, is it smarter to make 2 models without in Blender and swap mesh in Unity, or instantiate the scope object in Unity? I'd say in most of those cases, it's better to have separate objects and treat them either in the prefab hierarchy in Blender, in Unity, then you would probably have it so that it just enables that game object with the scope, because then you can also animate it. So maybe it's like a silencer or something. If that's a separate object, you can animate it so it touches it. Those are quite complicated use cases, though. I'd find like a first-person shooter with a weapon and a reload animation where you have animation clips. It's actually more complex than you would expect to do stuff like that. And here I have a feeling that Unreal Engine, this is unconfirmed, maybe someone can say, but I have a feeling that Unreal Engine has got a lot more built-in stuff for first-person shooter stuff when it comes to animating stuff like... am I totally wrong here, or...? Because I find that to be quite tricky in Unity, actually. All right, so... Let's see. Okay, it seems that people are happy with the fact that I'm trying to answer. Woo! Great! All right, according to Imphenzia's logic, we should all go outside and time goes slow, yeah. So I love this room. I've been in this room for so long. It's like, feels like I've probably spent... Does anyone remember my 24-hour live streams? So I did one 24-hour live stream in September of 2020, and then I reached 200,000 subscribers in September of 2021. So I did another 24-hour stream. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like we'll be doing a 24-hour stream this year, because I'm not going to hit 300K unless you tell your friends to subscribe. If you got any, hopefully you got more friends than me. I've got a friend in the chat here, Jim, who I failed to visit. So don't drop me as a friend. All right, so nerd artist, love from India. Oh, a lot of Indians happy to share spread some love. So Mia PC, you make control rigs for characters, custom characters too, and you can fully animate characters in the engine. Comes handy for details animations like placing hands on tables and stuff. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to trying it out. It's going to be super cool. Because I can't really, funny enough, I can't, I got a lot of questions like Unity or Unreal, and I'm not really in a position to advise on that, because I know Unity and what I can do, but I don't know Unreal Engine yet, and I don't know Godot. So I need to learn so I can shed a little bit more light on the issue. Oh, Smoke, you just watched my 200K one. Did you watch the full one? Some people, including Mia PC, stayed for the entire 24-hour stream. We've got some really solid followers on this channel. I'm super happy and very, very thankful for not just the fact that the people that stay 24 hours, just in general. See so many familiar people in the chat that stick by everything, all the rubbish that I come up with. So a sincere big thank you to everyone who's watching this channel, helping it, supporting it, staying active. So I'm very, very happy about that. I'm super, super excited. So why you held live in night? I don't know. I just felt like I saw. So here's my why I did that 24-hour stream. So I thought my kids were watching a lot of YouTubers, and they did like only eating yellow food for 24 hours or staying in this room for 24 hours. So I thought, okay, if I model stuff for 24 hours and I actually cover the whole thing as first, I was just going to do a video and show people like. In 20 minutes, I modeled this for 24 hours. And then I think it was my wife, Gamers Level Up, if anyone's seen her in the chat before. And she said, well, you have to live stream it in that case, otherwise people won't believe you. So I thought, okay, I'm going to live stream it. And I did. So 24 hours, I'd say that it was a continuous live stream. I did have some internet connectivity issues on the first one because I dropped my connection. I streamed everything through a 4G mobile connection because I didn't have my internet connection working back then. But other than that, I think I had like a couple of 15-minute breaks. No, not 15 minutes, did I? It was like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, I don't know. But it was cool. Every time I do the 24-hour stream, I think, not again, not going to do it again. And then a few weeks go by and it's like, ooh, that could be interesting. All right, let's see here. Okay, so nerd artist, yes, in India, graphic design is becoming popular. I just love Blender. It's so high-tech and open source. Yeah, it's amazing. And the fact that it's so good quality and open source is absolutely fantastic. Oh, sorry. If I'm missing questions, you might have not put @Imphenzia on it, and I'm missing a lot of stuff. Now I'm actually spotting something from Matt here. If you are starting a new multiplayer game now, would you go with Mirror or a new Unity ML API? Since I haven't researched the latest on those, I couldn't answer truthfully. I have a feeling, whenever possible, I like to stick to the native Unity stuff. So I have a feeling I would go for that one, most likely. It just feels, if you run into bugs or something, it feels better that it's the native stuff. That's my opinion. But I'm definitely going to look into Mirror a little bit more because I don't really know. Maybe it's super stable. I'm guessing it's because we're running very stable games in Unit still. With very few games break because of an internet or a connectivity issue. So let's see. Okay, so Mia PC corrected me. A few 5-minute breaks. Okay, yeah, I'll give myself that. Let's see. So Dutch GameDev, Imphenzia, I stumbled across your channel and it really got me into the basics of Unity and Blender, and I'm making my first game now. Thanks. That's what I like to hear. I'm really happy. People that are finding a way to act out there. A lot of people have thought about a long time for, oh, should I make a game or shouldn't I? So I'm happy. Do you have any low poly car tutorial? Yes, I do. Check out my channel history. There's a 10-minute modeling episode making a perfect topology car. That's probably the best one for a low poly car. And then I have a more detailed one, a Nissan GTR modeling tutorial. And then I've got a 10-minute modeling challenge where I did 10 cars in 10 minutes for extreme low poly stuff. Marek Slovak, is it worth going to study information technology on university if I want to do game dev, or is home learning game dev enough? Okay, I'm guessing that they've come a long way. When I did school back in the 90s or something, then there were no game development educations, and that's not what you're asking, so I don't know why I'm talking about that. But I couldn't really, back then for me, I didn't have an alternative. I had to just spend my spare time doing it. Nowadays, I think there are really, really good courses, so I don't really know how to balance that. But I do think a lot what Elon Musk said sometimes about learning, that when it comes to university degrees and stuff, you spend a lot of time learning stuff that is not going to put you where you want it. So if you have the discipline, don't quote me on this because this is not exactly what he said, but so instead of spending 4 years and doing some of the stuff that you think you're going to need and a lot of stuff that you don't need, it could be worth, if you have the discipline and the ability to really do a lot of self-study instead. Especially if you make indie games and maybe not have an employer search for you. This is probably terrible advice. So I'm just trying to think. It's a difficult one. I would probably go the self-learning route because I don't do good in a training environment in that sense. So, but I think it's if you need the qualification, I'd go university. If you're not disciplined to self-train, and then I'd also do the other courses. And if you need the qualifications, because I might suffer at some point for not having a university degree. I haven't suffered yet. In fact, most of the time it's never been an issue. But all right, let's keep going with the questions here. So nerd artist. So remember at Imphenzia if you want me to try to answer, because I miss all the other stuff nearly. So which language is best for game making? It depends. So Swedish. No. Well, I like C# a lot because it's so easy and forgiving to do. C++ is tricky, and you have to know your memory allocations, and you can run into a lot of issues, and it's a lot more time consuming. So, but it's more performance. So difficult to say which one's best. You got Java and stuff too. I don't really know that much. I can JavaScript, but so I think I'm missing some questions there. But here I'm spotting one from Jaser Cardoso. That's not put at Imphenzia, but I still spotted this particular one for some reason. First of all, your channel is great. Thanks, glad. I'm doing an RPG game based on Time Commando. Ooh, what can make the map more alive? Supposing it's Grass Mountain theme. By the way, it's a low poly game. Okay, good point. Okay. So low poly game, does that mean that you're not texturing at all? I have a similar issue in Line War that we did. So first I only had low poly polygons, and that didn't work. Even though I've got low poly models, just a pure implementation of a low poly world didn't look good enough. So I ended up going for slight texturing on that one, and the mountains are quite textured. The grass is just a subtle texture. when it comes to making the map more alive, I found that I really want to try to manipulate it, because I felt for a long time that you're just on the map as if it was a piece of cardboard or something. So what really makes it a more alive, let's see, I don't know if I'm answering exactly, but it's interacting with the surface of the ground a little bit. Whether it be, I do, like when there's a crater, for example, at the moment I apply a normal map texture for the crater, so it looks a bit like there's been an impact there. And I also colorize it so it looks like an impact. That sort of makes it a little bit more alive to feel like you're interacting with the ground. Ideally, I'd probably want to deform the mesh as well, because the normal map isn't enough for that. And also for your grass and stuff, I'd probably do look up instantiate. Oh no, let's see, graphic. Let's see, instantiated. I have to look it up. But if you want to do low poly grass, you can do draw mesh and draw mesh instanced, and then you can draw a lot of high performant grass. So you can make very simple. I did triangles, for example, just low poly blades of grass, and then you can have a vertex shader that animates that, so it really looks a lot more alive, because then you have like a thick foliage of tens of thousands of strains of grass that renders really performant. That could do wonders, I think, to make it a little bit more alive. So Gisela, after the release of Lion War, maybe a few hours stream where you take a first look into Unreal Engine. Yeah, I think since we're very close now to the actual launch, I mean, we're still going to be working on linears for years to come, but at least maybe we'll have a realistic, I don't know, phase to where it's just a full-time job. And I've got in the background, can I show? Yeah, that screen right there on the background there, it's actually a PC that I've set up with a blank installation. So I've had it there for like 2 months now. I still haven't started using it because I need to migrate stuff over if I could just get the time. So my friend Jim is gonna be super angry at me because I tend to like install, set up stuff, and then I don't use it for a while. So, but then on that one, maybe I'll do a live stream where I boot up one with Godot for the first time and then one Unreal Engine. Should I do it as a live stream maybe? That'd be fun. Maybe I can get a lot of help from you guys then. So, oh yeah, my Lion War 2 made in Unreal Engine 5. Well, maybe. Lewis, do you write your own shaders? I used to write my own shaders, and now I do visual scripting of my shaders. I've a huge time shaver. Screensaver. No, the shaders are, I did my procedural planets. I spent like half a year doing the shader code. It's quite complicated, I think, to learn, to understand it. And then I switched over to shaded graphs because I can do the same in a lot faster. So that's good. Yeah, I live in Sweden at the moment. Maybe we'll move abroad soon. I don't know. Try something new. All right, I think I've been streaming for 2 hours now. I think we're going to end it there, you know. So I hope, I don't know, this turned out to be a massive Q&A session. Hope that's okay with you guys. It was fun. I'm like I said, I'm super happy to share. My music is switched off. No one told me. I chip music here. Oh, okay. So really, one of the best live streams. I need to go now. Yeah, I think I need to go too. I haven't ate my food. My wife came down with some food, and I said, "The stream's about to start. Are you crazy?" I didn't say that. I said, "Could you please put that in the fridge? I'll have it later." So, so thanks much for everything. You're welcome. You're welcome, everyone. Your music is off now. It's back on, I think. Anti-toxicate. Hello. Did you just join the stream? In that case, you're just 2 hours slightly shy of making it, because I'm just about to end, I think. Dinner is the dog. It's on now, yeah. Put it back on. Oh, so good. Really like the live streams. Cool. At 300k, I might do another live stream. That'd be fun. Ecto just joined the stream 10 minutes ago, and all you've seen is my messed up face going on about stuff. But, when's the next stream? Probably next Thursday. So a recap on that one. I think I want to make higher quality YouTube videos because I've realized that sometimes I've just slapped videos together, and that's not really fair on you guys. I should really put more effort into the actual videos that I make, compact them a little bit more, make the message super clear, make them good. So for Thursdays, for the time being, I think I might do everyone a favor and just do live streams instead, because then we can interact a little bit more. It's fun to hang out. Since I'm not actually being able to hang out in the Discord at the moment, it's I'm not finding the time at the moment, so it's cool to be able to do this, interact. It's like a 2-hour session, so that's cool. Do a proper 3D fish. Last one was rubbish. Most of my stuff is rubbish that I make. That's why I like low poly, because then people can't, like, I can always say, well, it's low poly, I had time limited, it was 10 minutes. That's how I cover my mistakes. Same when I make music. If I make music and it sounds not that good, I just add more layers to it and sort of blends it out, then I get away with it. So that's super powerful. I don't even know why I tried saying the names. Honestly, I think your videos are great and can't imagine them being much better. Well, I need to trick the algorithm. I need to... realistically, I think the type of videos that Brackies, was it, that were doing when they were active, compact tutorials, I think, with a clear message, I'd like to create some of those a little bit better. When I speak, I don't understand how my videos can end up being like an intro that's 20 minutes long, and in this case my intro ended up being 2 hours long. How's that happening? Yeah, cheating is okay. It depends on what you do with GameDev, but not in most other cases. Devour Brains, interesting name. Sounds violent. You are the best. Greetings from Ukraine. Cool. Keep it up. Stay strong. Wow. Tough times. What's going on in the world at the moment? It's crazy. Thinking a lot about that, actually. I've been like dad and stuff and seeing all the crazy stuff that's going on. Sometimes I just have to put on my GameDev brain and just stay positive. Let's see, Diego Shooter. Hi, Imphenzia. Just wanted to say hi from Uruguay, and thanks for your amazing content. Welcome. Cool. Uruguay. That's far away from here. Cool. Glad to have you tuning in. 256. No, not Daniel. 256k 24-hour special for sure, right? No, well, I love the figure 256, of course. Anything that's the power of 2, I'm like... I really like. So let's see, it's 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024, 2048, 4096, 8,192, 16,384, 32,000, 768, 65,365. That's all I can remember. Power of 2 is cool stuff, all those numbers. But no, at the very earliest, it's going to be at 300k, not 228k. That would be like already. Cool that you like the low poly style. I'm just picking some random comments here. At Imphenzia, if you want to do anything directly at me so I can see it. Oh, the miner. Thanks. I haven't seen your name today here, so welcome. Just keep what you're doing because it's great. Nice to hear that. Oh, didn't I say 768? Did I miss it? No, not 768 actually. That's not a power of 2, is it? It's 512 and then 1024. I liked 768 too, of course. So we got Jason Michael here. Some of the names I found finally easy to pronounce here. I learned Blender from you, from your basic tutorials, and I've completed a game using your lessons. You're my all-time favorite YouTuber. Please keep up the great work. Nice. Happy to hear that. Always happy to share. So some of you might have remembered that I wanted to make a course at some point. So I do YouTube videos, and that's my focus. At some point, instead of doing freelance work, I've been speaking to GameDev TV. Those guys are really, really cool, and they've got some amazing content. And I'll be able to offer you some discounts on those courses in a bit, because we're speaking about the potential promotion thing there. But I really want to do a course for them and release it there at some point. I think it's a really good platform. It's really Unity, Unreal, and Blender focus, and except from the Unreal, that is just up my street. So, and Grant Abbott is doing some cool courses there, I know, and other bunch of people. So I want to I want to create maybe a longer course as well at some point, but that's definitely not going to mean that I'm going to stop YouTube, because that's my main platform, and I love to be able to share stuff for free there. So Nicholas, thanks for teaching me the basics Blender, or basic Blender. Child dreams come true during COVID. Nice. Yeah, I think that hit that at the right time. I was happy that a lot of people found their way into Blender through that period. Everyone got to sit inside and find something to do. Yeah, easy way to remember all the numbers. Just remember all the minimum RAM sticks that you got. Yeah, RAM. I remember the good 286 day. I miss the days of the 286, 386, 486 Pentium. When like going from 33 to 66 megahertz, you knew that, you know, this is like a double performance increase. Now it's like cores and hyper threading and overclocking and stuff. It's difficult to keep up with that stuff. And memory, RAM frequencies and all that weird stuff. Will you showcase the spaceship challenge in the Discord server? Oh yeah, so at some point I will revisit the challenges that are running, that Arvid and Alex Rack2 are running, of course. Yeah, I'm going to review another set of those. So it's going to be fun. DX2 for the win, yeah, I remember those days. Grant Abbott, yeah. I always say Gant Abbott, but it's Grant Abbott because I'm pretty sure I'm not that good at reading. Considering I can't even see what half the stuff. I'm guessing half the stuff you're writing at the moment. Like, what does it even say? I'll read 2 words, I jump 3 words, read that one, go back. Makes absolutely no sense. My brain is messed up. Where is Arvid? Has he skipped out? It's because I played a game on my last stream. I think he was disappointed that I didn't do a Blender or GameDev, so I was playing a game on my Imphenzia channel. How dare I? I'm actually considering, I'm starting to play a bit more games with my kids. So I played Sea of Thieves with my son, and we actually recorded it. So he's going to put it up on his channel. We're about to launch his channel a little bit. And I thought I'm not going to be putting those onto my Imphenzia channel because I don't want to bore people that are not interested in sitting here playing. But it would be fun to share that part, so I might even create like just for fun. So I got like an upload platform so that you can waste it like an Imphenzia Plays video channel or something. It'd just be fun to share it. Like. No, you said it right. I guess it was okay. So should I finish here now? This do you know what? I'm like 2 hours into a live stream right now. It could be a random ad hoc 24-hour. No, it won't. Okay, just as I was going to say, I'm going to end it there. My good old buddy Jim Engström. When Imphenzia and me got our first 60 megabyte hard drive, we said, now we can store everything on this. Thought it would last forever, yeah. Those were the days. I miss the CGA days. It'd be fun to make a tribute game to the good old cyan, magenta, black and white stuff. 24 hours today, yeah. Kafenovic, I thought I'd miss it. 2 hours and still going. Oh no. I was trying to end this a while back. Off the rails. Always amazed at what you could do in 10 minutes. Takes me longer than that to decide what to make. Yeah, well, considering I can't even speak for 10 minutes for 2 hours, like 2 hours is. I tend to ramble a lot. CGA Blender model, yeah. These colors. Let's check it out. Cube A. It would be something like this, wouldn't it? Okay, I'm not sharing the screen. Now I am. These colors have meant a lot in my life. Ooh, this brings back memories. Nice. CGA. It was easier back then. 4 colors. Screen, Andreas Brillen, yeah. Thanks. I need to set up an alarm or something. Okay. I think that's it. Do you know what? I'm finding an exit. thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Okay, here's a Sila Star. Hey, Imphenzia, would you want to play a match of Line War tonight or after the stream? Yeah, sure. Are you? Have you got the demo? Anyone who's not using the Line War demo, you should check it out and play it. Do you want to play on the stream, Silas? I'll play now. I can play one. Oh, we have more questions. Go for it, Mia. Ask. Don't forget to put @Imphenzia if you want to ask me questions. Ian Graham, how about modeling something along the lines of machinery, like a digger or a tractor? Yeah, that'd be fun. Now you mean, or that would be crazy. Off the Rails is taking off now. I'm actually not ending the stream, apparently, yeah. You should try doing stylized for one video. Have a gun dinner. Thanks again. You're welcome. The demo is fun. Glad you like it. So, Nicholas, how many lines of code is the entire game? Very good question. How do I even count that? It's so many files. I don't even know how to count it quickly. Should I check? No, I don't even know how to do it. I don't even know how to check how many lines of code it is, but it's, well, it's up there now. It's a lot of lines of code. All right, so Silas Star is about to get destroyed in Line War, apparently. Let's go for it. Anyone who doesn't want to see Line War getting played right now, you can disconnect and do something else, but you don't want to miss it. So I wasn't going to play on the stream, but let's do it. Can I even stream it? I can still answer questions, of course. I'll be happy to answer questions. So let's go Discord. So how many megabytes is the source code with all the models and stuff? It's actually not that big of a game since we're using low poly and stuff. Most of the biggest part of the game is actually the video tutorials and music. By far the biggest content in the game. So the code isn't that much actually in terms of, and of course the models are low poly, so they're good. For a while the whole game executable was with sound and everything was less than 100 megabytes. Which is cool. Let's check the assets folder. Let's check the assets folder size of Line War. It's, how can it be 1.5 gigs? Okay, it's because it's got a lot of uncompressed stuff that gets compressed for compile. So, sorry, I can't even actually get that quick because we're mixing the assets, so it's code and other stuff as well. Is MIDI like low poly for music? Not MIDI, I wouldn't. Oh yeah, okay, so if chip music is like, chip music would be the equivalent of pixel art, then I guess MIDI would be low poly music, but I didn't really like the MIDI music so much, especially not the FM ones. But it's a fair point. How should I practice modeling? Just keep repeating simple objects over and over again, I do. And just practice that. And again, I'm mostly for low poly modeling. So I think the benefit with low poly modeling is that you get the shapes and everything. So it could be worth starting with that, even if you want to get into high poly modeling. I think that could be a good one. I'm gonna boot up here. So Imphenzia, the tutorials don't work for me in Line Wars. Is that normal? No, it's not normal. It should definitely work. What happens when you press play on them? Doesn't it play them? Okay, Mia PC. Yeah, I think Gamers Level Up will have to come down and take you off the stream. Yeah, she usually secretly watches the streams. I've heard. Let's see. I need to change the settings here. Oh, nothing. No, it should definitely work. I don't know why the videos wouldn't work. That's strange. Okay. I need to have your friend code in that. If we're going to change, who was it I was playing again? Silas. I need to have your friend code. How do I get that one? Can you put? You shouldn't put that here, I guess. In the chat. DM me your friend code. I'm on Do Not Disturb. You can still DM me if you want. @Imphenzia. Let's check. I'll still do Q&A here. Meanwhile. Can you share the game? Yeah, I'll put it. Check out the link in the description. Scroll down a little bit to Line War. You can go to Steam page. It's actually available for free right now. So check in the description of this video. You'll find it. hopefully. It's just on the Steam page. Scroll down a little bit, look for a green button, and then you can download it. So Silas, if you wanted to play, then should I skip it on the stream? Should I do it on the stream, or should I skip it on the stream? Is anyone interested in watching that even? I could end the stream instead. So Darius, what are the benefits of using a color palette? Is it only for game developing? If you like I mean, I like the look and the speed of using the palette like this for the low poly coloring. I really like that because it's so fast. That's one of the main things. Oh, you DM'd me. What's your nickname on... I didn't get the DM at the top, so what's your nickname in Discord? Really interested in you playing the game. Okay, I'll do it then. Ecto, I'm 18 minutes late. I'm probably going to leave before you do a 24-hour, yeah. I want to watch garlic ice cream. That's the weirdest flavor ice cream I've ever heard. But cool. You want to watch? Let's do it. Stream it. Mia PC is saying. Okay, then. Nice. Oh, Starfighter. Is that you? Okay. Let's see. You should be in my list here of DMs then somewhere. Oh, I've got too many things. Let's see. I've got the most messed up Discord ever. I've got like, it looks like, I keep referring it to as my Christmas tree. And now publishers are contacting me again. Are you looking for a publisher? Let's see. Why don't I see the DM? Direct messages is not there. Okay, let's search. Star. Okay. It's gone into cyberspace somewhere. Okay, I'll access it through... can you do it in the line word channel then instead? Or here, maybe I can go this way. Star. Nope, okay. Logistically trickier than I thought, just to find a person. Scroll down. Is it because I'm on Do Not Disturb, maybe? There we go. You're in the game at least, so I'll go message. Hello. I didn't actually have a DM from you, so check that out. Oh, okay, Femi, I'm new and I'm feeling lost. Don't feel lost. I've spent 2 hours chatting about game development, Blender modeling and asset development and all sorts of stuff. And if you want to re-watch the stream afterwards, you can do it. I try to share as much as I can and help as much as I can on the stuff that I've done over all the years. And now we're going to play a game of Line War, the game that we've developed. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I'm going to still try to catch here. So, Zombie, do you have any tips for Unity to progress? Just keep making prototypes of games and make them more and more, like, progress yourself that way. It's probably a stupid idea. For Unity to progress. Try different game genres, maybe. Try to... shader was a big step. Moving into shader can do magic. You can really get some cool performance stuff when you move into shader stuff. So, vertex shaders and things like that. Distortion, really cool. Okay, let's see. I've got your code. Add as a friend. So, okay, let's go for... I tried to add you now. There we go. Okay, now I'm just gonna switch over to this. No, line more. See if this works. Whoa! Let's see. Yeah. Should I hide my face, my ugly mug? No. Let's keep it there. Challenge Starfighter. There we go. So, everyone, last week I did this as well. So if you watched last week, then you've already seen something similar. So I mentioned before that my full-time job right now, even if it's been unpaid for 2.5 years, is to create this game called Line War. Me and Christian has been making, we're part of a newly formed studio called Studio Centurion. And we've spent very much time creating this one. And even if it's maybe not the most high-tech 3D realistic thing, it's a lot of love has gone into the actual gameplay and the game balancing. And we wanted to keep a really unique and crispy look. So I'm actually quite happy when you search for Line War content now. It's so easy to recognize, like, okay, that's a Line War map, and oh, that's a scene from Line War. So I actually like that. So let's go for it. Let's see. I should just mute some music here. Hey, hey, hey. Oh yeah, I have switched off the music. That's okay. I'm all over the place here. Sorry, I wasn't prepared to game this one, so hype. Right. Karan Kumar, this is bad when you're just going to sleep and doing all the good stuff. Just stay awake. Don't sleep yet. Just stay up. You can sleep some other time. All right, let's go for it. So we're going to play on this map. Just a very brief... by the way, you can download this game for free right now because it's a demo available still. We haven't taken it off since the Steam Next Fest. So if you're into strategy games, you might want to check out the link in the description. And this is the world map that we've got. And I'm going to just quickly... These are energy wells where you can build refineries. You need that to power all air, sea units and tanks. You can build cities here, industries. Here's trade routes, so you get ships commuting. So let's go for it. I'm going to click ready, and I'm going to pick a start location. Usually on real-time strategy games, all the maps are quad mirrored, so they look the same, and you have the predetermined start positions. We didn't want that at all. We wanted randomly generated maps that are that you can pick your starting location like this. So you don't really know where the opponent is. But you're meant to try to find the best location here to start. And usually you want to try to go for somewhere where you got room for expansion, access to these energy wells and stuff. So I'm going to pick this one. Hopefully... Let's see. How did you learn GameDev? I've spent a lot of time just developing stuff for fun. I'm going to change the... So it's self-taught everything. Turn up the volume a bit. Okay, and text messages at the same time. Oh, my daughter's going to sleep. Okay. This will be a quick game then. I'll hurry up. I forgot about that part. I usually have to sit in my daughter's room because she gets nightmares otherwise. Okay. Yep. She decided to ask her mom instead. So the whole point with Line War is instead of clicking on units, you draw these visual commands instead. So that's one of the key things. And you build structures, and you can build airports, and you can build barracks, energy well stuff here, or refineries. You can build economic structures on these things. That'll generate you money in the end. I'm still going to ask, see if we've got any questions here. There's a chance you'll know where the area your opponent is or not. Yeah, I mean, now, for example, we already bumped into each other. Sometimes it takes a lot longer. Now it turned out that he's picked the starting location here. And he did say that I might destroy him. And there's... I've played this game quite a lot. Not to toot my own horn. But this is a tricky start for him because he's contained down here. I've got all this expansion. And I could build a shipyard here. So I'm going to form a little defense line there. And then we'll add so we produce striking. Maybe he's listening into my my plan here right now. Let's see. I'll do the artillery. Yeah. Okay, let's produce some artillery. There we go. Here's our low poly artillery for the win. can zoom in. So someone asked me about animating these animations that I've done. This hovers a little bit in air because I thought I'd get away with it, but these animations are done, a lot of them, inside of Unity instead of Blender. So the way this stuff like pops up like this, I decided to go and do. Okay, we've got an encounter here as well, and we also got some line war music. I composed the music for this a couple of months ago now. So he's building a defense line there as well. Going to keep expanding. One of the important things in line war is that you need to control these territories. This is the key. For every territory like this that you control, mine is blue color, you actually get 12 of these capital, we call it. We might rename it to like credits or something. We don't know yet, but it's called capital for the time being. So you get money for that. So it's very important because you need the money to produce like these type of troops here. And I don't want to send my artillery up. So let's disable artillery there. And this little defense line is just going to stay here. And then now we're starting to get some aircraft. I'm going to switch off helicopter production because I want the strikers. They can actually reach all the way on this one. Starfighter, are you listening into the stream now? Yeah, he might be watching the stream to see my plan. But in that case, he just realized that he's in a world of pain right now. Ooh. Yeah, eco is bad. Yeah, I'm gathering you're listening in it. That's perfectly okay. I'm okay with it. I have it open, but not paying attention. Oh yeah, okay. But you heard me say that. Ah, so you are paying attention. No, I'm only joking. So let's send some aircraft down here. Have a look. Up there. Okay, I'll just produce another... Oops, didn't have money for that. Let's produce a factory. Send over 10 nukes. Should I go already? I'll find a code word for nuke. Let's call it Southampton sausage. I don't know why you'd call it that. But if I say that, then maybe he... No, please. So even if I was going to use a code word... Oh, look at this. Here's a refinery. This tank here requires energy to move. And if this were to sadly get destroyed here... then it's already on fire here. If this was to get destroyed, his tank there might not even move because I can look. He's got one more refinery spot here and one here, so he could actually have some backup. See, I'm sorry, I'm saying he because I don't even know. Starfighter. Let's see. So, but it looks like it's might. So, okay, he's got tanks here. Maybe he'll. Okay, so. Let's send these over here and then instead. I'll switch over to tank production. Maybe I'm being too cocky here. Maybe this is... Do you know what? I'm actually going to send and take this out. I'm going to gamble and see if he might not have a backup energy, even though he's heard me now. Oh yeah, love the explosion effects those nuke makes. I agree, actually. Let's see if these tanks are going to puff smoke now if I destroy this. So... He might have heard and built something down here that I don't see yet, but we're going to find out soon enough. I'm going to take this line away, take that away, and there we go. Are they puffing smoke? Oh, okay. Apparently not, so there is backup power somewhere that I wasn't aware of. I have to send them over here, take the artillery off that one, and they can just keep conquering here. Oh, okay, there you go. Out of energy. Those puffs here, but they didn't last for long. So there is probably a power plant somewhere that I need to locate. I'll move my helicopters over to here as well. You can do that way. And then, okay, let's go for it. I'm not going to say what just happened there. Mia PC, I'm going to try to satisfy this request here. Is this the dev hour? Yeah, well, I spent a 2-hour Q&A session on game development, and then instead of leaving the game leaving the stream, I ended up playing one of the guys that are watching it. So let's see, will I be able to salvage this one? Need to destroy those tanks there. One tank on, one remains. Let's see, there we go. I nearly feel a bit guilty now. Sorry for that, if you're listening. So I could do some more eco buildings, economy buildings. Maybe like these are quite good value for money. I don't control that one. Oh, okay, so helicopters coming in. That means I'm gonna switch over to do some of those. And I need to produce... Okay, he's firing away here at my... Switch off tank and produce SAM, anti-aircraft. This is getting intense, yeah. Not as easy. No, we'll see. I might have underestimated here. I lost one of the stream matches last week, didn't I? And it's cool to see. I'm happy that a lot of players that are coming up through the ranks now are actually really skilled, which is quite cool. I might have... let's see. I think I have the advantage though of the expansion up here. Unless there's a weird curveball coming that I'm not aware of here. Oh, it destroyed my factory there. Let's build another one then. And oh yeah. Alright. No, let's see. You compose music too? Yeah, I do. Let's see if we get another track coming. Should be another. The music in this game is context driven, so it should really detect. I'll turn up the volume in case. Oh, there's a bug. So it'll detect the mood, and it won't play music too often because I only have about 45 minutes worth of music so far. So we've got a little bit of battle there. Oh, I saw. The reason why I see this, even if it's in Fog of War, it's because with the smoke here that's produced, this type of structure is visible a little bit further into the Fog of War, if that makes sense. Okay, so he's got some SAM here now that will be... Let's see, after I destroy this one, I'm going to move my air units back over to the other side. Oh, you're such a sweet dad. Exterior said, yeah. I feel super guilty because I always sit in my daughter's room when she needs to sleep so she doesn't get the nightmares, but my wife had to cover for me this time. Game name. This is Line War. So for anyone who's joining the stream or didn't hear, this is the game that I've been making together with my co-developer Christian for the past couple of years now. Getting ready for release. So these maps here are randomly generated based on procedural algorithms, and then you'll recognize the models. They were actually placeholders in the beginning, low poly, but I did higher poly versions and texture map them and everything, and it actually looked less crisp. So we decided to stick to the low poly versions, and we prefer those at the moment. It turned out a lot cleaner, especially at this scale, and I'm quite happy with the way they look in that sense. But they don't really hold up. That's why you can't zoom in any further, because if you go closer now, it looks a little bit not good enough yet. So might have to do a little bit of improvement for another LOD there. If you want to play this game, it's actually available for free at the moment. There's a community of people playing the demo, and we've kept it available for a little bit longer. But it's going to be released on Steam shortly, so we're just going through all the necessary stuff for that. And let's so one of the key things is that instead of clicking on a unit like this and saying that you should go there, you create these commands, and if you highlight this down, you can see that all of these land units will follow this command. And on this one, I've got the aircraft, so the AI will pick up and say, okay, I need to attract aircraft within this range. And then they'll fly here, and with the commands being orange like this, then they've got an engage directive, so they'll try to attack everything that they can see. And you can also do this, if I delete these commands, they'll get grounded, and then you can create a target command for air units, for example, on this one in particular. And you can saw that it drew up this little flashy thing here now. So it'll, I've got a lot of cash here. Let's see. Should send you down there. So now with this red target command here, these aircraft know that they're gonna focus on targeting this. Ooh, I'm not gonna win this. Hold on just a second. Just for a streamer surprise. You know, there's always hope. There's always hope. You never know. If it's possible to get some Blender sessions online, I can't really have I don't have time to do one-to-ones at the moment, but I do try to share as much as I can. Here's a mini present. Actually need this. I'll send this with love. Thanks, off the rails. Ooh, nice. Here we go. That has a pretty good effect. These trees that are folded like this, they're based on they're actually a shader that takes in some distortions. Ooh, cool. GG. And you can download replays as well and watch them over and over again. Thanks for the games. Let's see, Starfighter. Starfighter, it reminds me of... Oh, that's a loud volume, sorry. Alright, screw. Turn it down a bit. I feel really guilty for leaving my daughter like that, so I think I'm gonna probably end the stream there. It was the victory condition, but yeah, in the sense that the player Starfighter there resigned. So that's when you feel like you're about to lose, then that's probably the best thing to do, not to drag it out, to just press escape and click resign. We're still going to implement some win conditions to avoid like games dragging out a little bit too long. Thanks a lot for playing Starfighter. Unfortunately, I won't have time to do another one, but I'd love to play again as soon as I get a chance. Sorry for... that was a really unfair advantage, the way I started there. Just the way the picks turned out, you ended up being cornered down here. So it was a very tough one to do. So maybe next time. So, okay, guys. So I'm going to end the stream there. Thanks, Silas. It was good. Yeah, dramatic nuke. They're pretty powerful. So replays, yeah, curious. Oh yeah, okay, so just a brief comment on that before I end. Replays just save all the positional data into a data file, and you can just replay it using the same game engine. It just takes it as if it was coming off the internet instead, and it plays it back again. So, thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for joining the stream, and I'm happy to share everything that I can with you, so maybe I'll do another Q&A session, and we'll see what happens next week. Come back next Thursday for another stream, and until then, take care. And I'll see you. And I've got a little a present for you on the sign out here, because the live streams I've always missed something, and I'm going to leave you with a little present now. Hopefully this is the right one. So take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.